Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome into Chewing Clock, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. I am Chris Phillips. He is Cole Thompson, and he is Demetri Ravanos. More on that here in just a moment. We are officially back as the countdown to the 2026 SEC football season is only heating up here in the month of July. Jam-packed show for you as, again, we return after about a month or so hiatus. We're talking one player, each of us, one player from each SEC football team that'll help shape and define the upcoming 2026 SEC football season. Also, a very exciting day because we are beginning our team preview series where, yes, here on these airways, we're going to sit down and preview each and every single team going into the 2026 season. Today, well, we're going alphabetically. We are starting with the Alabama Crimson Tide, year 3 of the Kalen DeBoer era upcoming. Also, of course, guys, we want to hear from you, your questions, your comments, everything in between. And, guys, as always, when we get going, quick shout-out to our friends over at KALSHI because, of course, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at KALSHI. Download the KALSHI app. Use promo code SECU to get $10 when you trade 10. Once again, that is our friends at KALSHI. Promo code SECU to get $10 when you trade 10. I am Chris Phillips. He's Cole the Bear Thompson, and he is Demetri Ravanos. This is officially Chewing Clock here on this Monday, July the 6th, 2026. And we've officially returned from our hiatus. I was looking back, guys. It's been about over a month, I think, since the last time Chewing Clock hit the airwaves. I think it was just after SEC spring meetings, of course, with the College World Series, us going out to Omaha, being tied up in all of that. We took a little bit of a hiatus, a little bit of a break, and maybe a bit of an opportunity for you to catch your breath because now it is full steam ahead. Forgive me, balls to the wall, if you will. We are going nonstop from now until, well, the end of college football season, and the dust settles on this thing championship with hopefully the SEC hoisting a trophy. So, again, y'all know who I am. Y'all know who Cole Thompson is. I do want to introduce and start the show by introducing our brand new co-host. We mentioned a couple months ago we were looking for another talented individual that could bring some charisma and excitement, entertainment to this show. And, well, Demetri, somehow we ended up with you, my friend. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you taking the time, man. Let the folks know a little bit about you. But, dude, I want to be the first, obviously, to welcome you to the airways, man. Really excited. Obviously, you and I, our paths have crossed over the last decade or so. I remember when you said that to me. I was like, I can't believe it's been that long. But, yeah, really excited to have you aboard, my friend, and excited that we get the opportunity to work together once again.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And Chris is right. I mean, we started doing a podcast together 10 years ago with genuinely no plan other than to talk about SEC football. So, yeah, Chris and I have known each other a long time. Cole and I know each other really well, not just from SEC Unfiltered, but also the sports radio world as well. So, you know, the three of us all know each other. We have the chemistry to make this thing fun. And the other part of this, too, is I know long before the show was dubbed Chewing Clock, it was you guys and David Shoemate. And, you know, I just thought when you announced bringing on a third person, I told you, Cole, and I probably told you, Chris, when we talked on the phone, but I thought that bringing in another X&O football guy to try and recreate what you had with David was a mistake. I absolutely watch college football as much as anybody else. I will be the first to acknowledge to the listeners that if you want to get into a facts and figures and stats debate with me, you will beat me every time. But I promise you are not as entertaining as I am in terms of the way I think about and talk about this stuff. I've been doing the college football bubble bath for about 3 years, kind of felt like that was running its course. And so to get to pivot to talk about this a little bit more seriously, but also do it in my way that fits with you guys was just a perfect fit, right? And like I said before, the three of us all get along real well, so it was kismet, so to speak.
Now, to be fair, before he ended up signing on board, I always thought Demetri Ravanos was a gentleman, a scholar, and a Lord of the Rings stan. But unfortunately, the son of a bitch decides to go ahead and break my heart before we ever do our first episode.
Listen,
again.
I have a standing rule. I do not watch anything with swords unless they are lightsabers. Yeah, I will talk Muppets with you all day long, Cole. I will talk Star Wars with you all day long. But yeah, man, I never ever enjoyed Lord of the Rings.
I'm ashamed.
I've never seen a single Lord of the Rings movie, if I'm being totally honest. So.
Have you ever watched?
Where am I right now?
I never read those books either. I never got into that.
You sicken me, all of you. Everyone sickens me today.
Listen,
I've made the worst things possible, and this will still be the worst part that I will deal with.
I need a new movie series to get into, so maybe. I mean, Cole, listen, I get the opportunity to watch it for the first time. So,
oh dear Lord, you were going to be welcome.
Dude, I'm not. I haven't watched Game of Thrones either. Like, I'm not even into that.
Okay, well, after season 5, it kind of sucks ass. So, I mean, we can all. It's fine.
Well, I mean,
it goes downhill fast.
I do want to, real quick sidebar, I do want to give Demetri a lot of credit too, because for those who do not know, I think we referenced this the first episode, but where Chewing Clock was birthed from, ironically enough, was Demetri Ravanos. And then many of you out there, we do have a big Oklahoma contingency that tunes into this show. You'll know the name Tyler McComas because he is on the ref every single day talking Sooners. Demetri, it was you and Tyler, and I remember when I had the conversation with you and we were kind of doing our whole kind of rebranding and branching out, if you will, for all each and the individual shows. I'd always loved the name, loved the logo especially, and loved the idea of it and kind of what it stood for. And you guys gave us the blessing. And like I said, it is kismet in a degree, in a way, where it's like we all kind of come back together, and Demetri Ravanos, Chewing Clock, once again is acquainted. So that's I'm fired up, man. I'm really excited to have you. I'm pumped to start talking football again. I'm pumped to do it with two guys who I admire, respect, and love talking ball with. And I'm just excited for the fun that we're going to have on this show. I think it's going to be a blast.
No, for sure. I was thinking about this when you were talking about the hiatus and coming back. Like, the sports world worked with us, any content creators, so perfectly, where you had this amazing Stanley Cup final, which I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, so I was locked into that. You had a once-in-a-lifetime NBA Finals champion. The World Cup has delivered banger after banger of a game, College World Series. Well, but at the end of the day, like, we're all college football first people. I will be locked in for the whole run of tonight's USA-Belgium game. But, you know, if you ask me, do you want to watch U.S. soccer elimination game or Bama versus Western Kentucky? That's not an easy answer for me, right? Like, it's like the importance is the only thing that makes me not immediately go, oh, Bama, Western Kentucky all day long.
Well, to be fair, it is overrated chocolate in Belgium, so we don't need to really worry about that.
There you
go. They have very overrated chocolate. If it's not Switzerland, it's below average.
Based on my journeys to Epcot Center, I must say Italy, quietly strong in the chocolate game.
Under the radar chocolate. I love that. They're not known for just the French wine and the cheese. All right, I'll take it.
Guys, we really dive into everything really quickly to give you an idea how this show is going to work. So we are going to be on a set schedule from the standpoint of we're going to stick with Monday, Wednesday before we get to the season. Normally, we will be live. The plan is at 10 a.m. Central. Want to get out there, get up early, get going, get your coffee, do your thing. Obviously, as we always tell you guys, roll with the punches because something like today may happen where people's schedules are all over the place. So anyways, the plan is to be Monday, Wednesday, 10 a.m. Central. That is where you can catch Chewing Clock. Of course, all of the other places you get all of our other shows when it comes to podcasts, social media, et cetera. I'm sure by now you guys have seen the Chewing Clock social media platform. But again, where you can get this show, YouTube, podcast, everywhere you already get us, 10 a.m. Central, Mondays and Wednesdays. And when we get into the season, I'll go ahead and spoil this, if you will. I don't need to keep a secret or a surprise, but we're going to be doing things a little bit differently when it comes to game day and it comes to content. Obviously, the SEC Unfiltered Tour is going to look a lot different. I have mentioned that on social media. We're going to be on the road for just 6 different games instead of all 14, meaning that's going to give me a lot more flexibility to be at home and do content with Cole and Demetri on game day. You guys probably are familiar with the Sunday Fun Day shows that we've done over the last 2 years. We're actually going to bring that to Saturday night. It's going to be a Saturday night free-for-all right when it all happens, reacting to everything. There will be times you'll see all three of us. Maybe sometimes you only see two of us. But either way, SEC Unfiltered will be live late night Saturday. So for those who are out and about and want to get the immediate thoughts from us, and then, of course, you can go back on Sunday if you like, or if you want to wake up on Sunday morning and watch us, it will already be there for you all. I felt like last year going live late Sunday night, by then it seemed like a lot of people, and certainly I felt it, you kind of already have turned your attention to the next week and the next game, right, wrong, or indifferent. So really, really excited for what's to come. Obviously, it's going to be content leading out of the eyeballs, like we always say, and really, really excited. Again, Monday, Wednesday, 10 a.m. Central. You can catch myself, Cole Thompson, and Demetri Ravanos. But guys, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it because, again, we do have a jam-packed show, lots to get into. We're going to start, and we're going to be doing this over the next couple of weeks. You're going to notice some really fun topics to take us into, of course, SEC Media Days, and then we'll have fall camp, and then we're off and running as we count down the days till toe meets leather. But I thought it'd be fun, guys. Let's name off one player from each SEC football team that's going to help define the 2026 season. Now, I'm going to let you guys have at it, whether it be define the season for that individual team, define the SEC race, define the college football playoff race, whatever direction you want to take this, one player from each SEC football team that is going to help define the season. If we have some repeats, that's totally fine because I think there's some that are more obvious than others. But I know with this crew, y'all be thinking outside of the box and you're going to name off a different name just because you can, which I appreciate. We'd love to hear from you guys in the comments as well on who you think from each individual team is going to help shake up and define the season, if you will. So without further ado, let's start with the Vanderbilt Commodores. We're going to go backwards instead of going from Alabama to Vandy. We're going to let Vandy get the shine and go first. And since he's our new co-host, Cole, I say, why don't we let Demetri Ravanos go first, and then we'll work our way across. We'll go to Demetri, Cole, and then myself. And again, we will go down the list, all 16 teams. So Demetri, we'll start with you. Let's start with the Vanderbilt Commodores player that you believe will help shape the SEC football season from Vandy.
Well, I figured you guys both were going to go Jared Curtis, so I tried to think a little bit outside the box, and I thought about this in terms of Jared Curtis, right? What he does, because Vandy's not just losing Pavia, they're also losing Eli Stowers. This is going to be a big change in the passing game. They've gone out and brought in a whole lot of new weapons with the hope that this five-star freshman keeps it rolling. And I think the key is going to be, can they keep him on his feet? So Bo Johnson, the starting left tackle who transferred in from North Dakota State, is going to be asked to be damn near perfect from the get-go. I think that if the protection is there, we know Jared Curtis has the talent. They have brought in not just good receivers, they brought in some really interesting dudes like Cole Adams out of Alabama, who's going to be getting probably a heavier workload than he ever has before. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to, does Jared Curtis have time to get the ball out of his hands? There are a lot of good defenses in this conference looking to take advantage of a kid trying to figure out the jump in talent from high school to college. So I'll go Bo Johnson as the key to Vanderbilt being anything close to what they were last year.
Yeah, sometimes the low-hanging fruit is the way to go. It's Jared Curtis. I mean, come on. Let's be real. You're replacing the face of Commodore football and a Heisman finalist. Tell yourself 5 years ago that Vanderbilt, little old ragtag Commodores up in Nashville that have a one-way way to your seat, would have a Heisman finalist in the Big Apple, and to some people's standard, was probably the right call to win the award for what he had done. Because Diego Pavia changed the way that we view Vanderbilt. And how much did he change the view? A guy like Jared Curtis was never going to consider the city of Nashville as home for him. You want to know why? Because of Georgia is calling, and Alabama is calling, and Florida is calling. And in the day and age where NIL is so poignant, you can go to any single one of those schools, fight your way into a starting role, and eventually carve out a niche position to where you're going to be successful. So Jared Curtis comes on in, and we just watched as Diego Pavia was able to light up the stat sheet and lead the SEC in passing touchdowns last year in Tim Beck's offense. So if you're a more talented player and you've had an entire offseason and spring to go through the offense, build a rapport with Junior Sherrill and the offensive line and have a good understanding of what Cedric Alexander does in the backfield and what your identity is, maybe you won't be the reason why your team is fighting for a college football playoff berth, or better yet, just bowl eligibility. but you are going to carry a lot of that weight to be able to keep the momentum going towards this is a team that we know is going to be in that conversation to be ranked at the season's end. This is a team that is going to be considered one of those premier rosters to where you have to get up and prepare for on Saturdays. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a shot. And that's really where the bottom line comes to. Jared Curtis is the plus, the negative, the start and the end of all conversations with Vanderbilt football this year. Fair or unfair?
I definitely think the player guys come from the offensive side of the football because I think Clark Lee is going to, while they have a lot to replace defensively, I trust that Vanderbilt will be average to it, maybe even slightly above average under Clark. That's his specialty. That's his side of the football. It's their bread and butter, if you will. So you're right. It's got to be a player on the offensive side. Jared Curtis with the low-hanging fruit, I think, is a great pick. Just to be different from you, Cole, I will go a different direction. You lose Eli Stowers, who was one of your, if not your top target. I'm going to go Junior Sherrill to step up and be even more of a wide receiver one for them. Again, you're right. Jared Curtis, Demetri is going to have to be protected. He's also going to have somebody on the outside that he can trust to throw the football up to and come down with some 50-50 balls. Sherrill last year, 784 yards, 7 touchdowns. They added a couple impact transfers on the outside, but there's no question that Junior Sherrill is the guy. The only other one that I maybe thought of, Cole Spence at the tight end spot, trying to fill the shoes of Eli Stowers, but I'll go Junior Sherrill being more of that, even more of that wide receiver one and kind of being a breakout star, maybe getting to 1,000 yards. But if he has a year similar to last year, I think that means that he and Jared Curtis, the relationship thrived early on in his career. He became sort of that go-to guy. So
yeah, I don't think that we gave Stowers enough credit for basically being Randy Moss, right? He's always open. Like he's always the guy that makes things a little bit easier for Diego Pavia. So if you're trying to recreate that with a true freshman, I mean, you're dead on, Chris. They better find 2 guys that can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to need to be a Batman and Robin type of situation. Guys, let's go to the Texas A&M Aggies. Demetri, once again, starting with you, player from Texas A&M that'll help shape the 2026 season.
So this is where I'll go for the low-hanging fruit. It is Marcel Reed. He is basically that offense. Everybody not named Marcel Reed is turning over. And I wonder, how do you take the next step if you're him and you have lost Casey Concepcion, who can change a game on a dime? I do wonder how you take that next step, because the difference between probably a team that made the playoff versus a team that was playing for the SEC championship were the little brain farts that were pretty common for Marcel Reed. So is he able to eliminate those while also having to essentially break in a whole new offense this year?
I think it's really easy to look at the offensive side because of what you got with Marcel Reed, new play caller in Holman Wiggins. Ruben Owens now taking over for Lavian Moss. Big time difference maker. But this is a defensive first led team, boys. And let me tell you something. We know that Mike Elko is going to hit the transfer portal like people hitting it at 2 a.m. when they go to Taco Bell. Like, we know what they're going to do when it comes to that stuff. And another name that comes on in is Anto Saka, the defensive end from Northwestern. Think about this. The last 2 years, you have had difference makers coming off at the edge via the transfer portal. 2024 was Nick Scorton. Then it was Cassius Howell. Now, Cassius Howell had a year in the system to at least be able to kind of learn the ins and outs of what Mike Elko's looking for. But having that defensive line that is just going to overpower you and force teams to live in 3rd and long and put pressure on quarterbacks to have to take the knee rather than go get hit and pulverized for the 14,000th time. That's what makes Texas A&M churn at this point. They are a defensive first led team, and that's a good thing. When you look at what's been the backbone of A&M at its peak, it's defensive defining stops. The wrecking crew front 7 has been phenomenal, and they're trying to get back to that. So I think a guy like Anto Saka, who comes on in for Northwestern, decent season last year for the Wildcats, hopefully going to have a breakout season very similar to a former Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in Nick Scorton, who I know Demetri knows very well out in Carolina these days. Yep. You got to think that if he can come on in and be that edge player, you're going to be in a really good spot to be able to go ahead and set the tone for 2026.
Saka also a great advertisement for the price of crude oil right now, because that guy was going to be a day 2 pick in the draft. And the fact that there was NIL money to keep him around and get him to College Station, that's a huge win for A&M. That's a huge win, because to your point about the Panthers, I was looking at Saka as a great pass rush specialist kind of addition. That's a really good choice, Cole.
Got to be on the all-name team too. That's Anto Saka. It's got to be a first. I like to be different. I really do. It's taking the low-hanging fruit. It is what it is. But I got to go with Demetri, and I got to say Marcel Reed because he's not only the most important player on Texas A&M's roster in regards to shaping their season. He's one of the most important players, I think, for what the college football season in general is going to look like. He's one of the most important players for any team in the country. I really do think this team's ceiling is attached to his ceiling, right? And we saw it last year with the great year that A&M had, but in some of the biggest moments, he played some of his worst football. And I understand, right, the better teams you play, typically you're going to struggle a little more. But if A&M is going to have back-to-back 10-win seasons for the first time in, 30 years or so, or I think over 30 years, it's going to be because Marcel Reed. Like, if you tell me right now, give me a stat line, what accolades did he earn, I can probably tell you where A&M finished. Like, I'm that confident that it's tied up in the way that he performs. And so if he can take the next step and live up to some of the potential and be an all-conference guy, I do think you see Texas A&M go back-to-back double-digit win seasons and back-to-back college football playoff appearances. And, I mean, there's some people that think this Texas A&M team at their ceiling could – challenge to win the national championship.
I was about to say, Reed is important enough that his ability to, or I guess where he is, it's going to determine who's playing in Atlanta at the end of the year.
Yeah. Like, there are a few players where they not only impact directly, of course, their own team's success, but they're going to impact the conference title race, the college football playoff race, and the race for the national championship. So,
I think you built a roster of just players who could determine what's in Atlanta, your quarterback is Marcel Reed.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Marcel Reed, low-hanging fruit, but it feels like the right answer, dare I say, when it comes to Texas A&M. Guys, let's go to the Texas Longhorns. Demetri, kicking it back to you, the other team in the Lone Star State. Speaking of low-hanging fruit, I wonder if you'll go there or somewhere else. The one player on Texas is going to help define the 2026 season.
No, I didn't go with Arch. However, there's a reason I didn't go with Arch. I think it is a combination of Riley Brown and Hollywood Smothers, because if this backfield is not a home run, you talk about Marcel Reed being a guy that is going to dictate the course of college football this year. It's now or never for Sark in Austin. As much as they invested in the transfer portal, like there's kind of an unspoken mandate of you better fucking get this right this year, right? And so I think that Riley Brown and Hollywood Smothers are a perfect picture of that, because it is not just we invested in the best running back in the portal. We invested in two of the three best running backs in the portal. If that does not change things up for Arch Manning, if that does not change what Arch is able to do and the way teams approach that offense, I don't know what does. And it is very fair to ask, is Sark the guy for Texas going forward?
See, I'm going to go different because I had Raleek Brown, and I had specifically Raleek Brown because he just came off an 1,100-yard season. But let me remind everybody of this. There is a wide receiver who was heralded as the next big-time name in the sport that currently for his career has only 1,300 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns. And that'd be one Mr. Cam Coleman. Now, Cam Coleman, you got to ask yourself, is it because of bad quarterback play out at Auburn? Which we can all agree. Terrible quarterback play the last 2 years out at Auburn. Or did we do what we kind of did with Arch Manning, which was maybe put the wagon before the horse and not actually allow him to develop into that difference maker? He's supposed to be the X factor that comes on it. You look at that wide receiver room and you say, hey, Emmett Mosley, hey, what we got with Parker Livingston, if we want to bring him on back, what we got with Ryan Wingo, that's a trifecta that should work. And they said, no, we want to go add in a difference maker because we believe he can be a number one. Okay, so prove it. Prove that you are going to be that X factor that is truly defining yourself as the breakout star that we all envision to see. Because when I look at a guy like Cam Coleman, the route running, the physicality, the catch radius, he has all the tools to be an all-pro at the next level. So an all-SEC nod should be easy. And 1,300 receiving yards shouldn't be a total for a career. That should be flirting with during the season, plus a couple of notches games in the college football playoff. So I'm looking at him to be able to double his total and be that chain mover that Arch Manning really hasn't had. Arch came on strong last year. Like, you can go ahead and say that the preseason narrative, which, by the way, never believed in, nor anybody should have believed in, wasn't warranted when it came to Arch. But by the season's end, he was the reason Texas was winning games. Now you got to give him a difference maker at wide receiver. If Cam Coleman can be that dude, Texas is going to be the team to beat in the SEC.
Guys, there's just no way we can talk about Texas and have this conversation and somebody not mention Arch Manning. So I'm going to go with Arch Manning. And you look at what he did down the stretch. Obviously, Cole, you referenced it. He finished the season by throwing 11 touchdowns, 1 pick over the final 5 games. He also ran in 4 touchdowns, and he even caught a touchdown pass. So you've added all these weapons around him. You're right. These guys have got to live up to their billing and certainly the payday they all receive to go to Austin. But if the trigger man doesn't live up to his hype and expectations, and none of it matters, give me Arch Manning. Again, one of the most important players in all of college football this year. We could be talking about him winning a Heisman Trophy, and certainly we could be talking about him leading Texas to the promised land and getting them back to the college football playoff and certainly in national title conversation. So I just refuse to talk Texas and not have Arch Manning in this conversation. All right, let's go to the Tennessee Vols. Very, very interesting ball club entering the 2026 season. Demetri, we'll kick it back to you. Player from Tennessee that'll help shape the upcoming season.
This is a really tough one because honestly, Chris, the answer is I don't know who is going to slide into that spot that was supposed to belong to Chaz Coleman, because look, I think overall the ceiling is pretty low on Tennessee this year. I think it's a bowl team, right? The end. But I think if that's the case, it has more to do with what the offense is than who is playing on the offense. And it's going to be about this defense keeping them in games, able for that goofy Mickey Mouse offense to steal points here and there. They bet the farm on Chaz Coleman being the game wrecker that they needed. And now I don't know who slides into that spot now that he has left the team. Is it Tyree Weathersby? Is it Marion Dye? Whichever one it is, I think a lot is going to be asked of them.
See, Demetri brought up a good point. This is a bowl team. But what if it's more? What if it is? What if you're talking about a flirting 9-3 because of, hell, look at this. Josh Heupel, again with a quarterback, does some voodoo shaman man BS and finds a way to get them to like leading the SEC in passing yards. Well, what if it doesn't happen? You need to be able to have a sufficient ground game. And people tend to forget all the time, there was a running back that finished with over 1,100 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns, and nobody brings them up alongside Ahmad Hardy, Jaden Baugh, and Keewan Lacey. It is Deshaun Bishop, baby. 16 rushing touchdowns, 5.9 yards a clip. He was doing everything in that backfield last season, and now he is going to be the focal point of that running game. Tennessee has been known to trust a running back by committee approach with one guy being the focal point. They lost several of those players this offseason to the portal because they want their opportunities to be the lead back. So you got to treat it like you did with Dylan Sampson. You have got to treat this as if you have a one bell cow bruiser that is just going to take pressure off of Faison Brandon, take pressure off of George McIntyre, and just be able to set you up for easy plays on third down. Chain moving like crazy should be the notion. You have a perfect 10 in your backfield because he wears number 10. He's got to be able to prove that he can be a 10 every single time that he touches the rock.
I think that's a great pick too, Cole, when you factor in that Tennessee's got 4 returning starters on the offensive line. They got 5 back with starting experience. So I think certainly you got to look at the rushing attack should be the strength of this football team, especially with a brand new quarterback, that being either George McIntyre or Faison Brandon. I won't go with the quarterback. You know why? Because I'm going to give Josh Heupel the benefit of the doubt that he's going to get quality quarterback play. I doubted last year, and all Joey Aguilar did was lead the SEC in passing. So I think Heupel's got a handle on the quarterback situation in the offense. The defense was a liability last year. You bring in Jim Knowles, you're right. Losing Chaz Coleman obviously is a major blow, but getting Arion Carter to come back, the senior in the middle of the defense, who I think is the quarterback of that defense, I think was a big deal. So I'll go with Arion Carter. He's your leader on that side of the football. I'm excited to see what Jim Knowles does with him, and they just got to get better defensively from what they were a season ago. And I think especially too, looking at their schedule early on, they ease in the season with Furman at Georgia Tech. Week 2 is a tricky game and probably a difficult game. I don't know if tricky is the right word. Kennesaw State, but then you open up SEC play, Texas, Auburn back-to-back. So that offense early on in SEC play might be going through some growing pains. You're going to be needing to lean on that defense, to give you an opportunity to pull some upsets early. So, yeah, I'll go with Arion Carter on the defensive side of the football to to be one of their key players. But you're right. It's not an easy question to answer because it feels like there are a lot of questions with this football team. So, all right, let's kick it to the South Carolina Gamecocks. Again, another one that really intriguing going into the 2026 season. Maybe the coach on the hottest seat in the SEC. Demetri, we'll start with you, of course. Player from South Carolina that's going to help shape the 2026 season.
There are probably two different answers for the low-hanging fruit in this one, right? It could be Lenora Sellers. It could be Dylan Stewart. So I picked neither of them. I think it's time. And look, it's time because it's his last year. But, is this Nick Harbor shit for real or not? At some point, this physical freak, both in terms of size and speed, has to average more than 2 catches a game. And part of that is about having a mobile quarterback who can make plays on his own. But a bigger part of that is, dude, I don't think your quarterback really trusts you that much. You are a game changer. I think Gamecocks fans thought they were getting Alshon Jeffrey 2.0 with this guy. Maybe specifically Alshon Jeffrey versus Alabama in 2010 2.0, right? But I think that Nick Harbor is one of these guys that he's going to get his shot in the NFL just because the measurables are so insane. And if it clicks for him in the NFL, every single SEC football fan will be going, where the hell was this? Because it has only shown up in flashes. And everybody knows what the ceiling is if he can put it all together.
No, Nick Harbor is also known as Butterfingers, but he's also an action figure. I mean, he is. He's built like one.
Yeah.
Kind of
the last time we saw Nick Harbor, a ball went off his hands into a Clemson defensive backs, and it was ran back for a touchdown, and South Carolina season was over. So, I mean, it's for every, he's got to be more sure-handed for sure.
Hate it like one is the reality, but another action figure is Dylan Stewart. It's the low-hanging fruit, but it's the reality. Guys, I don't think if people remember what kind of a season Dylan Stewart had last year. And you can tell me how many times he was double-teamed. You can tell me that they kind of made sure that he was taken out of the game. When you're built like Dylan Stewart at 6'5" in a wrecking crew that literally should just be a battering ram that breaks through trenches, I need to see more than 4.5 sacks. I just do. And the bottom line is that the first year you were there, you had a replacement with Kyle Kennard coming off the edge, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. And I think a lot of people forget about that. So you didn't have that last season. Well, what did they do this offseason? Clayton White's defense went out and they brought in multiple defensive linemen to be able to go toe-to-toe on the opposing side to create one-on-one battles for Dylan Stewart. Dylan Stewart is going into year 3 of the same defense. Dylan Stewart is projected to be the best defensive player in the conference outside of maybe Colin Simmons from Texas. These are 2 guys that are getting revered as top 10 players. And the metrics say that at this point, he should be able to win every single battle and get to a quarterback's face and pulverize him into oblivion. At this point, I know that the offense is going to be going through a little bit of a trialing time because if you do have a new play caller in Kendall Briles, I don't know what your run game is going to be. I don't know how much more growth we're going to get with Lenora Sellers. But here's what I do know. It is sack the quarterback first, ask questions later for a guy like Clayton White's defense when it comes to Dylan Stewart. You got to do more than that and finish with the 11 career sacks. I got to see double that production this season, especially early on because of however long it takes for this offense to get caught up to speed. Your defense is going to have to counteract every single one of those moves and keep this thing as low scoring as possible. And by the way, what has been the key for a really good Steamer-led team? Great defensive execution, specifically in the trenches. Yep. Not just got Dylan Stewart coming off the edge.
This one is really interesting because there's one player, obviously, that I could mention that would be maybe the most obvious or one of the most obvious, right? There were 3 notable players specifically that decided to return this year. And then you could argue that the most important player or person in that building is not a player. It is Kendall Briles and what he can get out of the offense. And offense to finish 15th in the SEC in scoring and 14th in rushing. Mike Shula, of course, being fired mid-season last year.
No way.
No, I can't.
Who could have guessed that wouldn't work out?
What happened to Carolina again? Oh, wait, I forgot.
Yeah.
I wanted to go or would have gone with Jacarius Peak had he not gotten injured playing basketball. I don't know how much he's going to play now. I think they're optimistic that he can come back some point early season. But this feels like a typical Shane Beamer masterclass of yeah, we think we can get him back. And it just lingers and it lingers and it lingers. Oh, by the way, he's out for the year. So
Yeah.
I will go Lenoris Sellers. I mean, what was the common theme in 2024? Why did South Carolina have an opportunity to go to the college football playoff? Because Lenoris Sellers was Superman. Now, he's going to need help around him for sure. I mean, the offensive line was absolutely abysmal, and that's why I would have gone Jacarius Peak. I mean, the rest of it's a bunch of transfers on offensive line. I don't think you can pick just one guy. So I'll go with a guy behind him. If South Carolina is going to have a special season, Lenoris Sellers has to have a special season. He's got to put on his Superman cape and put this team on his back and, break 20 tackles in a game and just do the crazy stuff he did back in 2024. I mean, you think about when he took over games, the Missouri game, when he just did the unthinkable, the Clemson game, he ran in for the winning touch. Like, he's going to have to do that again. Because in front of him, again, even with the new pieces they brought in, it feels like the land of misfit toys. And I don't really know how good the skill position guys are around him. So if South Carolina is going to flip that record from last year or do even better, we're going to look back and say, dude, Lenoris Sellers turned back into that guy from 2 years ago.
Listen, I'll tell you something an NFL draft analyst told me last year when there was still the will he, won't he kind of thing. And this is verbatim. Told me that if the team in front of him was not so shitty, he, this draft analyst, would not have to be telling people, no, I'm pretty sure this is Cam Newton all over again. Like, that's what talent evaluators think of Lenoris Sellers. It is a matter of, can he get the time he needs to do the special things we know he's capable of?
Can I just say, please, for a society standpoint, can we stop comparing people to legends of college football? There is one freaking Cam Newton. Appreciate what he did out on the plains of Auburn for the one season, because we're never going to get that again. Okay? Please and thank you. That's all I'm asking for. And not you NFL evaluators who constantly are finding yourselves on the unemployment line like 2 years later for saying this shit. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy.
All right, let's go to the Ole Miss Rebels. We'll kick it back to Demetri. A new era begins under Pete Golding. Trinidad Chambliss is back. Kawan Lacey is back, along with a host of others. Demetri, the Rebel that you think will help shape the 2026 season.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned him. It's Trinidad Chambliss, man. You don't do all of that fighting to get the kid another year if he is not going to be the centerpiece of everything it is you think this team is capable of doing. I will be 100% out on Front Street about this. Ole Miss will be looking for a new coach in 2 years. I don't think Pete Golding is a good coach at all. But I think Trinidad Chambliss is going to cover that up this year, because I every time I go back and look at the highlights from last year, it's not amazing to me that Lane found this guy. It is amazing that we let this guy go to Division III. There is nothing that he does not do better than maybe 2 or 3 people on the planet. So I think that all of the talent is there. It does seem like there's a really good culture there. That's not a great advertisement for Lane Kiffin, but it seems like this team has very much gelled around the idea of just wait, just wait till you see us now. And I think Trinidad Chambliss is key to all of that. It's
so easy to pick Trinidad Chambliss, which is why I'm going to pick Trinidad Chambliss. Yeah. Let's be real. I think that he is the best quarterback returning in college football this season. I think he should be the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. I think that he is the best player in the SEC, period. And it's because of the backyard BS that he creates every single opportunity. I don't know if Pete Golding is going to be a good coach. I don't know if John David Baker, the offensive coordinator they hired from ECU, is going to be in over his head. Here's the thing. You have the best quarterback in college football to bail you out of trouble. How many times were we watching as Lincoln Riley when he was playing call and plays for Baker Mayfield, or Johnny Manziel when he was working with Cliff Kingsbury? It didn't matter what they said. They just said, here, make something happen and create an opportunity to keep the play alive. That's what you have. But Demetri hit it on the head. You went through all of this injunction. You went through hell and high water to guarantee that he was going to be strapping it up in Oxford. And for you, Trinidad, your draft stock may not be any higher than it was a season ago, and you're banking on yourself to build off of that. So to be completely honest, because of you said, I want another year, and because of Ole Miss said, we are doing everything possible to guarantee you back, you kind of need Trinidad Chambliss to be the answer for your team. And he will not only define, I think, the Ole Miss season, there's a very good shot that he defines college football in the SEC this season simply because of how he plays. And was it a Lane Kiffin thing? Or was it just the Trinidad backyard BS controlling itself well past that game out in New Orleans for a second straight time?
Guys, I'm going to go Trinidad Chambliss also, but I very easily could have gone one of these receivers because I didn't even know this. I didn't realize this until I'm reading it now. Ole Miss is replacing more than 3,000 yards in receiving production. Yeah. So somebody's got to step up. Is it going to be Jonte Cook? Is it going to be Deuce Alexander? Is it going to be Darrell Gill Jr.? Is it going to be Horatio? Feels like who's going to be the guy for Trinidad to get the football team? But yeah, it's Trinidad Chambliss. It's honestly a very hard thing.
Chris, this is why it sets up so perfectly for Trinidad Chambliss is you are replacing so much and you have a quarterback that you can tell, hey, the ball, let's say Jonte Cook, right? The ball is going to Jonte. I don't care how it happens. Just make it happen. And he'll make it happen.
Deuce Alexander needs 20 seconds to get open. Ball's still going to him. I'll make it work for 20 seconds behind the line.
Right. I mean, I think there is, and look, I know everybody is locked in on Arch, and to a certain extent, Dante Moore after him. Would you be shocked if Trinidad Chambliss plays his way into number 1 overall pick discussion?
No.
Yes, only because of his frame.
All right,
that's
shut
it.
up.
That's it. Fine, whatever. The first round pick, yes, 100%. I won't go number 1.
All right, let's go out to Norman, the Oklahoma Sooners. Demetri, kicking it back to you, the Oklahoma Sooner that'll help shape the 2026 season.
I'm going to go with a man who I only when doing this realized his name was not actually Taylor Weiner. I was just calling him that myself. It is Taylor Weed. I had forgotten that I was calling him Weiner. That was not his real name. Look, Eddie Brett Venables' team is going to be led by the defense, and Ween made this insane jump. And granted, a lot of it was about playing time. But go look at the rise, not just in tackles behind the line of scrimmage, but being in on plays. Is that real? I think it is. I think Oklahoma is going to be pretty damn good this year, and I think he is going to be the linchpin to that defense. He plays that position right in the middle where he's the green dot guy, right? He's going to be the one relied on to get the message from the coaching staff to the rest of the team, and he showed all last year he is capable of doing that as good as, if not better than anyone else in this conference.
So Oklahoma had an elite defense last year. They had a quarterback that was playing with 2 fingers basically missing the entire time. They had an almost 1,000-yard playmaker in Isaiah Satanga. And their offensive line was better than what it was in their first season in the SEC. And they made the college football playoff. Oh, wait. There has to be something that derailed their season. What was it? Oh, yeah, your starting quarterback led the team in rushing attempts. It's Xavier Robinson. I'm sorry. You shouldn't be looking in the backfield going, hey, Jaden Ott. Oh, wait, you don't exist. Hey, Torrey Blaylock. Oh, wait, you don't exist. Hey, Robinson, you don't exist. There has to be somebody that can be a good supporting castmate to run in the football, especially in an offense led by Ben Arbuckle, who, if you remember when he was at Washington State, had Wayshawn Parker averaging over 6 yards a clip. So, all I'm asking for is, I'm in a total agreement with Demetri on this one. I believe that Oklahoma, going into this year, has the ability to be the best team in the SEC. I am fully convinced they can be one of the storylines that just comes out of nowhere. And Brent Venables, this whole narrative of, oh, well, this roller coaster of 6-6 and 10-2, it continuously climbs on up. But you can't ask John Mateer to lead your team in rushing. And you certainly can't have your leading rusher average 2.9 yards a play. I'm not asking Oklahoma to be a top 15 rushing team. I'm saying don't rank 113th. If you do that, you're playoff bound. You want to know how I know that? Because you were 113th last year and you were playoff bound.
Cole, to the dissatisfaction of Body Drop Dime, who just tuned in and chimed in and said, I just started, so I'm obviously behind. The answer for OU has to be Mateer. The defense will be fine. Can Mateer take a step and be better? And I don't disagree with him that obviously John Mateer being a better decision maker in 2026 is one of the biggest questions I think Oklahoma faces this season and certainly controls their fate and what they hope to accomplish. But I'm going to go really when they zig, I zag type of moment.
Ooh.
Let's show some love to the specialists. How about Tate Sandell?
Oh, I knew you were going to go with this.
How about Tate Sandell? How many games did he win them last year? He went 24 for 27 on field goals, including 8 of 9 from 50+. He won them that Tennessee game. Went 4 for 4 in that game. Made 3 from outside of 50. That was the shorts moment, you might recall. And he obviously took over. Everybody knew who he was. But obviously, we know how important Demetri is, and I'm going a little bit of just a different direction here. But Tate Sandell, All-American season. He's a big piece for them. How many close games are you going to be in over the course of an SEC season, having a place kicker like that? As much as people will scoff and laugh, there's a lot of value in that. So let's show some love to the specialists. Give me Tate Sandell to be the player that'll help shape their season.
He will also be able
How
to.
How short will his shorts be this year? We thinking about the same as last year? Is that going to be a story again, we think? Or is he?
I mean, he ain't going full Daisy Dukes. But here's the good news with Tate Sandell. He will be able to make up for nearly costing, his team a playoff win. Oh, wait, I forgot about that. Demetri, you remember what happened in that game?
That's why he's so important, though, because his worst game, guess what happened? They lost the game by 10 points.
They lost the game by 10
points. Think about it. He went 1 for 3 on field goals in that game.
I mean, look, if we were doing this show 3 years ago, right, we would be talking. The next team we're going to talk about is Missouri, right? If we were doing this show 3 years ago, we would be saying all these same things about Harrison Mevis, right? There are just kickers in the SEC that when they come on the field, like as an opposing fan, you just feel like, oh shit, it's over, right? And Sandell has the ability to be that, until he wasn't.
Husky Harry, we loved him out there in Columbia.
Mm-hmm. Our guy Blake Ruffino, by the way, in the chat, shout out to him, AYS Sports Network. He does make a good point. The thumb didn't make Mateer throw in a triple coverage. And I don't think you're wrong, Blake. Here's a fun stat for you guys, by the way, just on the note of Mateer. Post thumb injury, Oklahoma did not eclipse 400 total yards in a single game offensively. So
they won more defensively. They had more defensive yards in some games than offensive yards.
Him being healthy is a big deal, certainly being a better decision maker. But hey, I mean, you're going to be kicking a lot. So Tate Sandell. All right, let's go to the Missouri Tigers. Demetri just alluded to it. Demetri, the player from MIZ that will help shape the 2026 season.
I mean, this one is such low-hanging fruit because it's as simple as, is Ahmad Hardy going to be on the field? Like, it seems like he is. The thing about a gunshot, right, is it's not an ACL. It's not an MCL. Like, there is no understood time for recovery. And so far, we've not gotten a lot of reports about progress of this guy. If he is on the field, people think I'm crazy when I said this last year, but I mean, I take him over Kewan Lacey 10 times out of 10. I think he is an absolute, like, just give him the ball and you get out of the way kind of playmaker for Missouri. It's unfortunate what happened to him. It's terrible what happened to him. Everybody sounds optimistic, but nobody's giving us specifics. So it's going to come down to, is Ahmad Hardy actually going to be there?
See, and that's a big reason why the player who will define Mizzou's season is his backup, Jamal Roberts. Because keeping Jamal Roberts around the building was massive, in my opinion. His name was floated around the transfer portal so often that every single day it felt like that you had a new question for Eli Drinkwitz of, is he sticking around or is he not? And to me, now being able to keep him, a guy that averaged 6.1 yards per play last season, over 700 rushing yards, took over games and had moments where he was the actual X factor for the team. It doesn't change your offensive approach with new OC Chip Lindsey. You still want to be a run-oriented team. You can be that with Roberts. Now, it does help having an Ahmad Hardy, who could be arguably the best running back to come through Columbia in program history, is going to be on the field. But you will gladly say having a guy like Jamal Roberts as a number 2 that can take on over as a number 1 for a time being, or at least to set the tone for the season in a year where their schedule will be daunting enough to say, hey, if you want to make the playoff, you're going to have to earn your way on in. And nobody will doubt with their schedule that they wouldn't be a 10-2 team that earned their way into the playoff. I think Jamal Roberts carries a lot of weight on what could happen with this offense.
Guys, I am going to agree with our guy Blake Ruffino, AYS Sports Network, who comments the quarterback of the Missouri Tigers this season, one Mr. Austin Simmons, coming over from Ole Miss. Austin Simmons, I recall very vividly being on these airwaves with Cole DeBoer Thompson and us both being very excited about the potential. This is way before we knew who Trinidad Chambliss obviously was.
Yeah.
Thinking that Austin Simmons was the next all-SEC quarterback to come out of Oxford. And obviously the injury hits early, and once Trinidad Chambliss took the reins, he was never coming out. Can Austin Simmons live up to the hype and be the guy that I think we thought he was going to be in Oxford and Como? Because, guys, I think Missouri is going to have to score points. They're going to have to score points in bunches because they have a grand total of zero returning starters on defense. That doesn't mean they're going to be terrible. We just don't know. So Corey Batoon's got his work cut out for him. I think they're going to need to score points in bunches. And with the questions surrounding Ahmad Hardy, I agree with you, Cole. Jamal Roberts obviously is a fantastic player. But with guys like Donovan O, Caden Lee, those guys on the outside, Austin Simmons needs to be that dude for them. Quarterback play was something they struggled with Bo Perbula to a point to where I believe, the last couple games, certainly the bowl game, he lost his job. So, yeah, give me Austin Simmons. I think certainly one of the most important players in the conference. And if Mizzou's going to overachieve and make some unexpected noise, I think it'll come because of Austin Simmons and the type of year that he had. Guys, let's go to Starkville, Mississippi, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Demetri, I'll let you start. And we got our guy Riley Carruthers, who I haven't seen since baseball season. Riley, good to see you, my friend. He says State has two low-hanging fruits as well, both wear number one, both lead their side of the ball. It's either Kamario Taylor or Kelly Jones. Demetri, the question is, are you going with either, or are you going somewhere else for Mississippi State?
I am agreeing with Riley. I am going with Kelly Jones. I think that the reality is Mississippi State is a bad football team with a bad football coach. And the best thing they can do is avoid getting blown out, limit those shootout kind of games. The only problem I would see with picking Kelly Jones is he was so good at breaking up passes last year that I could see situations where opponents just pretend that side of the ball doesn't exist, right? Or that side of the field doesn't exist, and they are throwing everywhere. He is not. But I think Kelly Jones is a tremendously talented kid that Mississippi State is going to be asking to be, Superman, Captain Marvel, every X-Man all rolled into one. Like he's that important to the defense this year.
See, I really want to go with Fluff Bothwell, and I probably still could go with Fluff Bothwell because if he was such a stud at times last season, but you got to remind yourself of, hey, there was a wide receiver by the name of Brennan Thompson who led the SEC in receiving yards a season ago. But there was another wide receiver by the name of Anthony Evans that constantly flies under the radar in terms of being one of the more consistent playmakers. He actually had more receptions than Brennan Thompson. He still finished with over 800 receiving yards. And you got a young quarterback in Kamario Taylor who needs to have a surefire hit that Staples button click. That was easy touchdown throw, play after play after play. And I think that's Evans. Evans, in my opinion, is one of the more underappreciated players in college football. He has been a constant part. He really kind of came on and proved to everybody at Georgia, I wasn't being used properly. I'm a joystick that if you just let run rampant, like you're playing Pac-Man at 3 a.m, trying to go ahead and get the high score, I can go ahead and easily be able to find my way into the end zone. So I think Anthony Evans, if he can be a difference maker in a Jeff Lebby offense that is not afraid to go take some deep shots down the field, number 3 can be the number 1 receiver in the SEC by the season's end.
After hearing Demetri's comments, Cole, it's good to know we have a second Jeff Lebby hater on this show now. You and Demetri can both. I guess I have to defend Jeff Lebby's honor. What a weird position to be in.
Look, I can sleep well at night knowing that at least John Summerall finally got to the SEC. It's nothing against him personally. John Summerall is better than you, and he still is better than you at this point.
Fair enough. I won't fight you on that. I really want to go with Fluff Bothwell because I agree with you, Cole, from the standpoint of what is a young quarterback's best friend, that being a good running game. But I got to go Kamario Taylor, man. I mean, he is the highest rated quarterback recruit in program history, and the way that he finished last season, again, he's got to be special. If Mississippi State's going to, go bowling or reach their goals, which I was told when I was in Starkville last year at the Egg Bowl right after by somebody on that staff, hey, we're being told 7-5 is the mark. Get to 7-5, have a winning record. Obviously, getting to postseason play is the expectation. Year 3 of Jeff Lebby, go win a couple of SEC games, obviously, it's going to fall on the shoulders and the legs, of course, of Kamario Taylor. He's got to be special for them to make that thing go, to be the straw that stirs that drink, if you will. So, yeah, I'll go Kamario Taylor, highest rated quarterback recruiting program history. You got to – when you have that type of billing on you and that type of hype around you, you got to be that guy. And I'm sure Jeff Levy, I would even go as far as to say, is his tenure, assuming he's there past this year, will probably a lot be determined how Kamario Taylor's career at Mississippi State played out. Like, did they get the most out of him? Did they not? I mean, this is supposed to be your specialty, right?
Yeah, and in 2026, part of that too is going to be, did he stick around?
Yeah, that's a big thing too, because all you need is for one really hell of a great season.
Yeah.
And here comes NIL, and here comes Florida, and here comes Georgia, and here comes
Miami, Kamario Taylor.
Oh, don't worry. Shannon Dawson doesn't need to become a head coach. Why worry about that when I can be the greatest OC in the ACC?
Guys, let's go down to Baton Rouge, the LSU Tigers. Demetri, I'll kick it back to you. The LSU Tiger that'll help shape the 2026 season. And you can't say Lane Kiffin because he's not a player.
I think this is going to be less about performance and more about who this guy is going to be asked to be week in and week out. And that's Whit Weeks, man. When you bring in so many new faces, you've got to have some level of continuity that not just the fans can get behind, but that the players can rally behind of this is the guy that understands what it means to be, or what the expectations are, I guess I should say, at LSU. On top of that, what's the best way to say this? He is a longtime friend of the Kiffin family. I would imagine that Lane has a certain level of trust in this kid that a lot of these guys he just met for the first time in February, he probably doesn't yet.
Man, I really want to go with Jordan Seaton here because if he is the highest paid offensive lineman in the transfer portal, but let's be real. Sam Levitt kind of had it made in Tempe, Arizona. You led your team to a Big 12 title in your first season. On top of that, you had a coach that went to battle for you every single opportunity that he could. Kenny Dillingham is a damn good offensive mind, and you're playing in a conference that now with the whole Brendan Sorsby situation going on, it does feel wide open, and you could have been a king out for the Sun Devil country.
Yeah.
And you're going to LSU, and you're choosing to go join forces with Lane Kiffin, who, let me remind you, has constantly been able to put quarterbacks in the NFL. And there's two other guys that they have waiting behind him in Hussein Longstreet and Layden Clark, the Elon kid. And let me remind everybody, a D2 quarterback just led Ole Miss to an 11-1 season. Don't think that an FCS kid can't do the exact same thing out in Baton Rouge and become an icon the way that Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow did. So this is an opportunity where you bet on yourself to go be in a better situation and take the turn of tides and bring LSU in year one to a certain pedigree of where you are going to be a viable threat. And I know they have a good run game, and hopefully it's going to be able to go to reach new heights because Harlan Berry and Caden Durham are going to be taught properly. I love their wide receiver room, and I think their offensive line is a little bit ahead of schedule. But it really comes down to Sam Levitt. It does. Because if you get good Sam Levitt, like if you get good Sam Levitt, you're talking about a top 6 quarterback in college football and a top 3 quarterback in the SEC. If you get bad Sam Levitt, we're talking about a 7-5 season. And no, nobody's going to be calling for Lane Kiffin's head after year one. Nobody's going to do that. But you are going to ask yourself, what the hell do we see in this kid? You are.
I mean, Cole, you get bad Sam Levitt, we might be talking about Hussein Longstreet getting some looks to take over the QB1 job. I mean, it might get to that point. I'm going to go with a guy that I'm really excited to talk about all season long because he was criminally underutilized under Brian Kelly, and that is Trades Green. A guy that had 33 catches, 433 yards, and 7 touchdowns. From a catch and yardage perspective, guys, he may not just double his numbers, he could triple them. And that might be a little bit aggressive, but I think they're going to force feed him the football. And I got to see him up close and personally in the game in Nashville when LSU came and played Vandy, a game they lost, by the way. And you're thinking, why do they not throw the ball to this kid every play? I'm not trying to take a shot here, have him get hit by a stray bullet, if you will, but he's what we think Nick Harbor should be, really, truly, from a size, athleticism, just like a freak, a specimen on the field. So I'm excited to watch him in a lane-given offense. I think he could break out, absolutely be a 1,000-yard guy for them, be Sam Levitt's best friend in regards to the offensive attack. So give me Trey Green. I think he's just, again, criminally underutilized. I think you're going to be hearing his name a lot this year.
Yeah, it's funny, Chris, because as you were talking about that, it was making me think of Brian Kelly's first year in Baton Rouge, and the way they beat Alabama was force-feeding it to Thaddeus Moss. Like, why you had the blueprint, why would you not be doing that with this kid who is clearly more talented than Thaddeus Moss ever was?
Do want to give a shout out in the comment section. My runner-up was Ty Benningfield, the transfer from Boise State. Bottom line is that Blake Baker's defense is going to be, I think, way more important than we give credit to. And I think that Ty Benningfield is going to be basically like AJ Halsey. Not a lot of people talking about him going into the year. Sure as hell, a lot of people are going to be talking about him after.
Yeah, John Bro says impact player Ty Benningfield, and then RJ Arsenault 337. I think that's how you say that. RJ Arsenault. RJ Arsenault 337. Ty Benningfield is a dog. Yeah, that's somebody I've heard them talking about a lot. They are really excited about him. All right, let's go to the Kentucky Wildcats. To Lexington we go, Demetri, the Kentucky Wildcat that will help shape the 2026 season.
I'll be honest with you. I don't have a ton to say about this team because I feel like a lot is turning over there. I've heard from a lot of people that believe that Kentucky is at the beginning of doing their Indiana thing, and this might just be the year of the year of getting the money right to put the pieces in place. I don't think they have much of a passing game, so I will say you can pick any of those guys in the middle of the offensive line that are going to be opening up holes for the run game. And I'll go with Tegra Shabola, the transfer from Ohio State.
Kenny Minchie pushed a top 10 quarterback going into this year and CJ Carr to the brink in practice. And now he gets to work with the guy who, let me remind you, got Bo Nix to get his act together and become a top 12 pick and a Heisman finalist. Got Dylan Gabriel to an undefeated season and turned Dante Moore into a stud. Yeah, I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit and say if Kenny Minchie can get on the same page as Will Stein, they're going to be better than advertised offensively by the time they get to midseason.
I think Kentucky's a fascinating team because of some of these pieces they added from the portal. Like, you look at their roster and you're like, oh, I know that guy. Like, there's a lot of more names that you know than you realize you know. So I'll go CJ Baxter coming over from Texas at the running back position. I think, again, what is a new quarterback's best friend? A strong running game. You're right. Obviously, Demetri, they have a ton of new on the offensive front, but added in starters from other Power 4 schools. So I think C.J. Baxter behind that big physical offensive line. And I'm curious to see what the offense looks like under Will Stein and a brand new offense. I don't think it's the big blue wall anymore. Kentucky fans just cringed probably when I said that, thinking about the old 3 yards in a cloud of dust marks teams. But I still think C.J. Baxter a big piece for them, so I'll go with him. But the thing with Kentucky, I'll say, there are a number of players, number of different directions you could have gone here because it is so much new for them. So many new pieces from the portal. Guys, let's go to Athens, Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs. Demetri, we'll start with you. The dog that'll help shape the 2026 season.
I mean, look, what Georgia quarterback does not need his very own exciting white, right? Like, it is, the Bulldogs are going to need their gritty, their plucky, their gym rat wide receiver. So I will say London Humphreys.
Electric. You got to throw that one in there.
That's right. That's right. Coach's son type. London Humphreys, I think, is the guy. I don't think this offense is going to be asked to do a lot, right? I don't think Gunnar Stockton is going to be asked to do a lot. I think this is a real throwback kind of Georgia team where Nate Frazier is going to be a star by the end of the year. I think if London Humphreys emerges, though, similar to the last exciting white lad McConkey, of a guy that, like, man, you get him on a slant route and he's just gone. There's a whole new dimension to this offense that Georgia may be really tough to catch up to in this conference.
You know that Georgia hasn't had a double-digit sack artist since 2012 with Jarvis Jones? Like, you just think about that for a second. Kirby Smart's been there for a decade, and he's never had a guy go for double digits in sacks. That is mind-boggling to me. And I think this is the most deep version of Georgia's defense we've seen probably since 2020. So I'm going to go Chris Cole. I think Chris Cole coming off of the edge, being another money linebacker that can fit into this role of, hey, let's go sack the quarterback first and then go ahead and get the shit kicked out of us. I mean, we can go kick the shit out of the running game later. Like that, like that's the version that you're looking for. You're talking about a guy like him that I think has exceptional speed, good straight line ability to be able to win battles against certain offensive tackles. And he's going to be asked to do a lot when it comes to playing the run and playing against the pass and getting in the backfield and hitting quarterbacks.
Guys, I'm torn on this selection because they both play the same position. One is I'll say known commodity, and the other one is a little bit less known, but I think could become the star here. So I'm going to take a risk and go with him. I'm going to go with Ulysses Williams at the tight end position. Georgia loves the tight end play. I mean, it's their best offenses have the tight end heavily involved. Obviously, you'd have no more Oscar Delp. Lawson Lucky is back. But hearing people this offseason out of Athens talk about Ulysses Williams, 6'6", 255, absolute monster. Again, had a very, freshman season where he's probably third or fourth string, 7 catches, 117 yards, did average 16.7 yards per catch. But I think he could take a much, much bigger role. And I think in a year where the biggest question for Georgia, at least in my opinion, is who is catching the football? I mean, again, London Humphreys, your top returning receiver. There's no more Zachariah Branch. We already know they already utilize the tight end. I'm not saying that Williams is going to be a Brock Bowers type, if you will, but they're going to want to utilize the tight end early off and all throughout the season. So I think Ulysses Williams could become one of Gunnar Stockton's favorite targets this season. And again, they need him to step up on the outside. So give me Ulysses Williams for Georgia. And with that, we will move to the Florida Gators. Down to Gainesville we go. Demetri, the Gator, that'll help shape the 2026 season.
I'm going to have a couple of these here for the next run because all three of these teams did the coaching turnover thing. And I think in the wake of Kirk Cignetti winning a national championship, everybody is asking what it is you are bringing with you, right? And so this is less about John Summerall and more about bringing in Buster Faulkner. Eric Singleton was great at Georgia Tech.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then he went to Auburn. And he didn't disappear because he actually had more receptions than anybody last year. They just weren't for very many yards, right? So if Aaron Philo is going to be Buster Faulkner's guy, here is a dude that Faulkner proved better than anyone he knows how to utilize. It's going to make life so much easier for Jaden Ball if Eric Singleton is capable of once again being the home run hitter he was 2 years ago.
Chris, we have not told Demetri about my foolish comment that got me in so much trouble with Mizzou fans and Ole Miss fans that led down a pathway of pure, unadulterated hatred, and my DMs were flooded with just pure disdain. Because if I said that Jaden Ball is the best running back in the SEC, and now he's got Buster Faulkner as his play caller.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much you know about Buster Faulkner, guys, but Buster Faulkner likes to run the football a lot. And how many times were you looking at your television last year watching Billy Napier burn it to the ground, screaming, run the damn ball? And what happened when they finally decided to run it with unlucky number 13? They won, and they won by a lot, and they did a lot of good things, and he still had over 1,000 rushing yards and was slightly underutilized. And now you're getting him into a system where quarterback play, you're asking just to go set the tone. Wide receiver play, very slept on, but you need a competent quarterback to find your receivers. And you got a dude who said in his opening press conference, yeah, there'd probably be 30 to 40 more times I would have said, let's run it with 13. So if you're going to truly be a team that can trust what its identity is, let me make it abundantly clear. It is first, second, third, and into oblivion, run the damn ball. Jaden Ball is your X factor, and he is going to control a lot of what I think Florida's upside could be in 2026.
I mean, remember, Mekhi Hughes, who was John Summerall's do-everything running back 2 years ago, was told, sorry, man, there's not really a place for you here at Florida when he left Oregon. Like, you're right.
Jay Sully 03 commented, the easy answer for Florida is who we're starting at quarterback, but I think Miles Graham needs to step up big on defense. And I think Miles Graham is a great answer, but I am going to go the easy answer. And I don't know if I'm going to say, I don't think I'm going to say Aaron Philo or Tramel Jones. Just Florida's quarterback is the player I'm going with, whoever it is. I don't know who it's going to be, if you will. Philo obviously coming in from Georgia Tech, Tramel Jones, a lot of upside as a youngster, but you got to have the right trigger man in place. You can have Dallas Wilson. You can have Vernell Brown III. You can have Eric Singleton. You can have Jaden Ball in the backfield. If you don't have the guy under center, this team that's being dubbed as this college football playoff dark horse, right, wrong, or indifferent, they have no chance of reaching that pedestal if they do not get competent quarterback play. So somebody's got to step up under center. Somebody's got to be that guy. Whichever one it is, that's the gator that I think is going to help shape, again, not just their season, but could also shape the college football playoff race as well if they make this unexpected or make this run that some are predicting they very well could in John Summerall's first year.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that Jaden Ball did so much last year with such I don't want to call them bad, and inept even seems a little bit too far, but such a mismanaged supporting cast.
It was bad.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
It was bad. I'll say it. You don't have to be the bad guy.
Look, man, it's my first show. I'm trying to be nice to people.
No need at all. Cole's always going to be the villain. It's fine.
I mean, the ability to get the ball in the air and not have everybody, just chew their fingernails down to nubs is going to be a big difference from the last couple of years in Gainesville if they can make that happen.
Just for me personally, I don't need to have freezing cold takes come after me for the umpteenth time. Just let me say something smart and just be ahead of the curve before everybody else. 13 was always RB1.
Guys, let's go down to the Plains of Auburn. The Auburn Tigers. Demetri, starting with you, the Auburn Tiger that'll help shape the 2026 season.
I mean, the fruit is hanging so low, you may have to dig it up from out of the ground, right? It is Byron Brown. Quarterback play has been so bad there the last few years that I say this as somebody that actually is a believer in Alex Golesh. I'm kind of convinced the only reason he got the Auburn job was to bring Byron Brown there. I mean, he does what Auburn looks for in every hire, right? He made life hard on Alabama. He also made life hard on everybody else that he played. But I think so much of that offense is going to run through Byron Brown, whether the ball is going in the air or staying on the ground. I don't know how you reasonably entertain any other answer when it comes to Auburn.
Yeah, I'm going to try to. I'm just going to go with a wide receiver. Like, pick one of the ones from South Florida. You can go with Koger. You could go with Singleton. You can go with whoever you want. Here's the thing. Let me remind everybody of this stat that is still damning to this day. It is expanding day in and day out. Auburn has not had a 1,000-yard wide receiver since pre-Y2K. There are literally children who were born by children who were born before the last time they saw an Auburn wide receiver go for 1,000 yards. And everyone in this offense, as much as we can talk about Byron Brown, everyone in this offense is coming on over from South Florida. Let me remind everybody, South Florida was the top 5 scoring offense in the country last year. They were known for throwing the rock. And much like we talk about with Lane Kiffin, and much like we talk about with Josh Heupel, they use the run to set up the pass. But as much as they love to run the football, they will throw it, and they got yak machines. So you got 3 dudes coming on in. Every single one of them could easily go ahead and prove that they are a difference maker. And how funny would it be to watch like a kid from South Florida that nobody knew about in the SEC a season ago be the first wide receiver to break this record? Meanwhile, Cam Coleman's out in Texas and he finishes with like 680 receiving yards. Like the most sought after wide receiver recruit in Auburn history is like mid. And this random dude, oh yeah, he played here. And then he came to Auburn and he broke out for over 1,000.
I am going to go with Byron Brown also, Cole. I just, here's the thing. Because if I didn't, it would go against my take from a couple months ago where you and I were talking about what would spell a successful season for Auburn. I went as far as to say if they get good quarterback play. I think Auburn fans are so starved to see a quarterback have success and be exciting and be fun to watch. Like, obviously, you want to win the most games possible, but in year one, however many you win, do it with some pizzazz at the quarterback position. You know, do it. Do it where you're not dreading to watch the guy under center for the next 3.5 or 4 hours, however long it is, because that's what the Peyton Thorne and the Jackson Arnold experience was for them. So
Hell, we can go that far all the way back to Nick Marshall.
I was about to say, since Cam left, their best quarterback has been a defensive back. Like I think that is that is sort of Auburn in a nutshell. And the thing about Byron Brown specifically, right? Golish is, or I guess at this point now, was Heupel's dude, right? So he's going to call that offense that is going to make bad quarterbacks look really good. Imagine what Auburn is expecting from a really good quarterback in that system.
Yeah. Like, here's how bad a quarterback play has been at Auburn. Bo Nix was a glorified stud that was thrown on into the starting role, and he looked so bad they ran him out of town. And the second he left, Heisman finalist. Yeah. I mean, like, the story writes itself for how bad quarterback play has been on the Plains.
Guys, let's go down to Fayetteville. The Arkansas Razorbacks. Demetri, kicking it back to you, the hog that'll help shape the 2026 season.
Well, this is the one that puts the bow on my run of 3 coaches. What can you bring with you? Honestly, Chris, you can pick a Memphis guy to be the answer to this question, anyone, because Hogs fans absolutely hated that Ryan Silverfield hire. And I think at this point, it is going to be judged, at least in year one, of did he at least bring a base that we can build on, whether that's through the portal recruiting, whatever. We don't have high hopes for this guy. We have been in the cellar of the SEC for a long time. Is there a glimmer of hope there based on what he brought with him? Honestly, I don't know. I know I could see on the sheet where you're going, Cole, I'm not going to steal your thunder. But outside of that, dude, I don't know who is a reasonable answer that actually can make a difference between this being a winning and losing team.
Yeah, I will go with the lowest hanging fruit, and that's the guy that led your team in sacks last year, who could have easily gone anywhere in the portal, and it's Quincy Rhodes Jr. Like, what was it, other than NIL, making sure that Hunter Yurachek cashed you a check that you were happy about? What was it that made you want to stay in Fayetteville? I think it's an honest, open question because of you could have been stud anywhere else in the country, and you decided to stick around for another year for a program that probably is going to be going through a rebuild. So there has to be a reason. What is that reason? Maybe to be the biggest fish in the smallest pond? Okay, cool. Then you better attack like it.
Guys, I'm going to go back to the quarterback position. I got to see KJ Jackson in person last year in Austin, and I thought he was a dynamic player. If they're going to have any shot to make any sort of noise, I think it's going to come from that position. I know he's in a bit of a battle right now with A.J. Hill, the Memphis transfer, but I think it'll probably be KJ Jackson. So, yeah, give me him. This one is kind of tough because it is so many new faces, and doesn't feel like there's a lot of like hype and excitement, if you will, around many of them at all. So, but I'll go KJ Jackson. I know he's the guy Hog fans are most excited to see, or one of the ones they're most excited to see. And I think if they're going to have a shot to pull some upsets, make some noise, it's because KJ Jackson probably went off for them, used his athleticism to do some special things. Guys, finally, let's go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The Alabama Crimson Tide in year 3 of Kalen DeBoer. Demetri, the Alabama football player that helped shape the 2026 season.
Well, this one feels like low-hanging fruit because he's a star, but so much is going to be asked of the defense this year. There's a brand new quarterback situation. Is Ryan Coleman Williams really low-hanging fruit? I don't know, but when you are changing over the quarterback situation, when you still have these huge questions about the running game, I don't even need Coleman Williams to be the superstar we thought he was going to be in year 2. I just need him to remember how to hang on to a fucking football, right? I need him to be good enough that your head coach does not drop you to number 5 on the depth chart in the fucking Iron Bowl. He is going to be a major reason that whoever the quarterback is, it's going to be Keelan Russell, is successful this year, right? Like it just is. Like his ability to bounce back from what was undeniably an incredibly disappointing season for him personally is going to be huge. He came back. I'm shocked he didn't go in the portal. I think that speaks very highly of his relationship both with Kalen DeBoer and with Ryan Grubb. Let's see it play out on the field.
I never love doing this. I really don't, because if it's unfair to them, because they're true freshmen. But mother of God, you need to have a sufficient run game. You're frickin' Bama. Look at the names who have been through the laundry list of Tuscaloosa lore that have been staples. And you don't have that in A.K. Deeren. You don't have that in Daniel Hill. But you may have that in E.J. Crowell. And if E.J. Crowell is supposed to be the best running back prospect we have seen in over a decade, since Derrick Henry was perusing through and winning Heisman trophies and kicking the crap out of everybody, you have to be able to trust a run game. So Crowell's the easy answer for me, because if you have sufficient quarterback play and you have decent wide receivers, and there are names outside of Ryan Coleman Williams who could be good. Said Darian Morgan, Lazier Brooks, Rico Scott, they all could be standouts. Offensive line could be good. Defense is going to be fine, I think, once again, because of Kane Womack's guys out together. He's got his pieces in play. You just got to run the ball, man. Like, I'm not asking, much like Oklahoma, not for top 10 finishes, but top 50? You're Alabama. Like, you're supposed to know how to run the football. Trent Richardson and TJ Yeldon and Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram, they didn't blow up their knees at the NFL level to watch you not be able to run it in Tuscaloosa, so you better be able to run it. E.J. Crowell, I hate to put that pressure on you, my dude, but you're the best running back that Kalen DeBoer has seen in his system. You better look like it.
I want to give both of y'all credit, by the way, for being in mid-season form, because it's Ryan Coleman Williams. Good on you both for having the name already. I wonder how many people will maybe I'm not giving enough credit to everybody, but it is Ryan Coleman Williams, in case you all
full disclosure, my sheet said Ryan Carter Williams up until you said the word Alabama.
Very nice. I'm going to go
with Kyler Finley, but we can all say that.
I'm going to go the other low-hanging fruit, guys, and I'm going to go with Keelan Russell at quarterback. Is it going to be him? Is it going to be Austin Mack? I agree with you, Demetri. It's probably the worst-kept secret in college football that Keelan Russell will be the guy. I think most, after seeing the spring game, and granted it's a spring game, take it with a grain of salt, but most, I think, watch that today. This guy's different. He's different. So there's a lot of other pieces, or a lot of keys to the recipe, if you will, if Alabama's to get back to the college football playoff and live up to the expectations that so many fans have, but starts under center. Keelan Russell's got to be the dude. I mean, he has to be. And Cole, I love your answer. I like both you guys' answers, but I'm going to go with the very obvious. That is Keelan Russell. He's got to be the right decision at quarterback, and he's got to be good for a youngster out the gate. Because again, you got East Carolina week 1, but then you're at Kentucky, FSU in a revenge game, South Carolina in a trap game, at Mississippi State, and then you get Georgia on October the 10th. So Keelan Russell's got to be that guy under center for Alabama. So, guys, that'll do it for us. One player from each SEC football team that will define the 2026 season. We would love to hear from you. You agree with us? Do you disagree? Which selections do you agree and disagree with? And which players do you think will help shape this upcoming season? Guys, really exciting stuff. Show's not over yet. We're going to dive into, speaking of the Alabama Crimson Tide, our official season preview for Bama. Before we do, really quickly, guys, I want to tell you about our friends over at KALSHI, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at KALSHI. Guys, college football season is around the corner, and you can trade every single game on KALSHI. Guys, I don't know if y'all knew this. They actually have week 1 percentage chances already out for college football. As I get this pulled up here, to pull up the ones from the SEC. For example, LSU has a 72% chance to beat Clemson. Clemson with just a 28% chance. The Ole Miss Rebels, a 70% chance to beat Louisville. Louisville at just 30%. Then we jump into week 2. Mizzou with a 71% chance to beat Kansas. Kansas just 29%. Oklahoma, actually the underdog per KALSHI. Michigan's got a 52% chance to beat OU. OU 48% chance, et cetera, though. You get the gist. You get the job. All of the games are there. And on KALSHI, guys, you're trading its peers in a live market, meaning there's no house since the probability changes. You can buy in and out of your position for a limited time. Download the KALSHI app. Use promo code SECU to get $10 when you trade 10. That's KALSHI. KALSHI, trade on anything. 18 and up only. Restrictions, eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. All right, let's keep it moving. The 2026 Alabama Crimson Tide football season is just around the corner. Year 3 of Kalen DeBoer is upcoming. Alabama, guys, looks to return to the college football playoff, and we are going to start this conversation looking back. How did we get here in regards to year 3 of Kalen DeBoer? Alabama, you might recall, 11-4 a season ago, 7-1 in conference play. But, guys, all people remember is what happened at the end of the season, because Alabama was throttled by Georgia in the SEC championship game. They did beat Oklahoma, by the way, in the college football playoff 34-24. But then that loss to Indiana, 38-3. Just a quick reminder, in the quarterfinal in the Rose Bowl. Guys, as we look back on last season and how it impacts the expectations, the energy around the Alabama program, I know we're looking back here, but Demetri, I'll start with you. How did you grade year 2 of Kalen DeBoer? What is the feeling around Alabama football because of not just how the season went, but I think more specifically how it ended?
Yeah, I think because of how it ended, like, you look back now, hindsight being 2020, you look back now, and for me at least, I don't know about you, Cole, it's pretty easy to accept they were never beating that Indiana team. Yeah. But to look as lifeless as they did is what is absolutely unacceptable. I thought that a lot of the performance was probably above the talent level, right? Like, as soon as Coleman Williams, or I guess still Ryan Williams at that point, as soon as he came back to earth, all of a sudden Isaiah Horton was, the go-to guy and was playing out of his mind at times. Ty Simpson, Jesus, the Ty Simpson experience was like getting an EKG every single week, right? I personally am happy to see him go. I think that is part of what was the inconsistency, not that he was a bad quarterback, just the inconsistency is what was holding this team back. I think, we go back to what Cole was talking about when he was talking about how important EJ Crowell is going to be. Any sort of bad feeling that anybody has about this team that is a hardcore Alabama fan is because it looked foreign last year. It did not look like it was, or I guess we have never lived in a world where Alabama couldn't muster 50 total yards on the ground in a game. And there are a lot of questions of, can they do it this year? It doesn't matter how good Kroll is. You've got five brand new offensive linemen in a rotation that's probably going to include 7 or 8. And maybe your best one came from Sacramento State. I think a lot of the problems people have with Kalen DeBoer, I know I've gone on for a second, I'll wrap it up here. I think a lot of the problems people have with Kalen DeBoer are because Alabama as a culture, state and fan base, but I'm talking about fan base, has a problem accepting that reality is very different. I cannot tell you how many friends I have that I went to school with that will tell me that Coach Saban didn't need X or Coach Saban did X, that don't want to hear, well, yeah, but this isn't that game anymore. And I think the money people, whether it's at the Yay Alabama Collective, whether it's Greg Byrne, need to wake up to the fact that you're not going to get Saban results doing Saban things in 2026. I think that the success of Nick Saban broke a lot of brains that were already pretty broken as someone that grew up in and went to school at the University of Alabama. And I think that is a hill that might just be too tough for Kalen DeBoer to climb.
But for me, which is where I fight back, it's not that Kalen DeBoer being able to beat Kirby Smart during the regular season 2 years in a row automatically proves that he was the right hire. He was doing things. He was easily, in my opinion, he has done enough to be able to, I think, warrant people believing we got it right by finding Nick Saban's replacement. The problem is that the standard at Alabama, even when you were going through the rocky times before Saban arrived in 2007, was we are a championship caliber team. We better damn sure act like it. And that's not changing because of what we saw with Bear Bryant, what we saw with Gene Stallings, what we saw for years before Saban ever stepped foot on campus in Tuscaloosa. The problem I think a lot of people have, in my opinion, is Alabama looks soft. For the first time in over a decade, there were moments where Alabama looked like the weaker opponent. Not in terms of schematics, not in terms of roster talent, but in terms of physicality. And that is something that has always been, I think, a staple underneath Nick Saban. We may not have the best quarterback on the field. We may have a question mark when it comes to what is our linebacking play. but we sure as hell are not going to look like it on the field. We are going to outwork you. We are going to out physically gain you, and we are going to outplay you with our grit. And there were so many, it was lifeless in the second half of that Georgia game. It was lifeless in the second half of the college football playoff matchup. And let's be real, nobody was beating Indiana last year unless you had sheer dumb luck and a couple of big time breaks like Miami nearly did. But the problem was Alabama gave up. And that's something that I think is going to be souring for a lot of Alabama fans to stomach when it comes to the Kalen DeBoer, because of Nick Saban could have lost it. He lost the game to Clemson, and it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Alabama players did not give up until the last 5 minutes of that game when they realized there's really no point here. You gave up on multiple occasions against opponents, whether or not fair or unfair, that Alabama should never be giving up against. And for some people, I'll say the part, they're never going to be okay with losing to an Indiana logo. Like, logo bias aside, that's the issue. Like Kirk Cignetti's team could have been wearing a Georgia logo and they would have accepted it. It's the fact that it was Indiana. Even if Indiana was the best team in college football last year, that logo came for it.
I think you add to it the fact it's not just, you're right. Like, they don't accept, like, think about all the people in our orbit here at SEC Unfiltered that still want to throw punches at the idea of losing to Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's not just they can't stomach losing to the Indiana logo. It's that they can't stomach that Indiana didn't even let Alabama sniff the end zone because Alabama just wasn't good enough to, right? And this is my concern when you talk about, Cole, what Crowell is going to have to do or going to have to be. You talk about Alabama looking soft. I mean, even the big boys, look, even Daniel Hill could not move the ball when they were counting on him to just bulldoze through a line. When they would throw the ball or hand the ball, oh, Jesus, the left tackle last year. My name just... Yes, Proctor. Yeah, sorry. When they would throw or hand the ball to Proctor, Proctor was getting stopped. Not immediately, but he was getting stopped. Like, in the past, that is like, just go ahead and put 6 on the scoreboard because this dude is not just bigger than everybody else. He's meaner than everybody else. And you're right, that is missing right now. I remain a Kalen DeBoer believer. I really do. I remain a Kalen DeBoer believer. I think that Alabama as an athletic department, as a college football program, has to start playing the modern games, the game in the modern way, I should say, in order to maximize what Kalen DeBoer can be as a head coach.
I think both of you make really valid points. I think, number one, it's great to have a standard of excellence and expectation like Cole was talking about. But Demetri, I think you're right. We're going to get into Kalen DeBoer here in just a moment. I think specifically what the extension he received and I think what it says, because I do agree with you. If you try to play the same game and try to recreate Nick Saban and the success, nobody will ever do that anywhere for that matter because of the current climate, NIL, and there's more parity and everything else. I mean, people forget when you look back, yes, the season opening loss at Florida State was still to this day feels inexplicable. And it was another example of, at that time, the narrative's like Kalen DeBoer is always going to be good for 1 or 2 of these a year, but they just don't show up in these games. His teams at Alabama to this point have had moments they didn't show up, but they bounced back in a big way. I mean, they finished first overall in the SEC. Right. They were literally the number 1 team in the standings, 7-1 in conference play. Again, they had that loss to Oklahoma where I think Alabama fans felt like they kind of gave them that game in Tuscaloosa a little bit because you look at the yardage, you look at the way the game played out, but still finished first in the league. But you're right, just the sour taste at the end. It's interesting because as we move into Kalen DeBoer, guys, and again, he enters his 3rd season, and a lot of the offseason conversation, I don't think we would have been saying that Kalen DeBoer was on the hottest seat, but there were people that felt like, I mean, I remember getting texts, and this was probably, overreacting, if you will, jumping the gun, but I remember after the Florida State game, I had Alabama buddies texting me like, hey, man, there's people in Tuscaloosa. They're getting the money ready. Like, they're ready to get him out of there.
After the Iron Bowl, where he goes for it on 4th down and scores that touchdown, I heard Bomani Jones on his podcast say, someone needed to tell ABC to wait about 1 more second before they cut to Kalen DeBoer because he clearly did a relief exhale when Oregon got that touchdown pass.
And it's interesting though, guys, because like I think pre-contract extension, that conversation may have had a little more juice to it. But in case you missed it, somehow, some way, living under a rock, back in April, Kalen DeBoer got a new 7-year, $87.5 million contract. And what that said to me, guys, was, and again, I don't think Kalen DeBoer is some terrible coach. I mean, you look at his track record, what he's done. Look at the season they had last year. They went to the SEC title game. He's not Nick Saban, and nobody is Nick Saban. And this, to me, felt like Alabama signaling, hey, we know that. Let's get out ahead of this and invest in our guy. And Alabama kind of accepting this is the new era. Because I've still got, and I know y'all do too, but I've still got Bama buddies that are saying that, you know, they're not believers in Kalen DeBoer. But you're right. The brain is so warped because the next guy was always going to be the fall guy. The next guy was always going to have these impossible set of standards and expectations to live up to. But at the same time, I hear out what Cole is saying, and I agree. And it's a big year for Kalen DeBoer in year 3 because, make no mistake, year 3, this team is a spitting image of him. Brother, if we go through another season of you getting pushed around and bullied and that lack of physicality and that lack of discipline, that's another thing that's haunted them, always being one of the most penalized teams in college football. At that point, there will be no denying that is just part of the culture. I mean, I remember last year, guys, y'all probably heard this. You know, I had people telling me, man, Coach DeBoer's yelling at him in practice, man. Like, things are – I'm like, is that really where we fucking are? That, like, we're getting pumped because he's yelling at guys? And, like, where how has Alabama fallen this far where it's like, you got to start yelling at him, coach? So it is definitely mixed emotions going into year 3 as we switch the combo to DeBoer. But, I mean, I'll let y'all piggyback off this. It feels like that extension definitely took a lot of the heat off going into this year.
I mean, look, I think the extension tells you that, okay, this is going to sound weird because it doesn't seem like women's basketball and men's and football are connected. But, you know, Alabama hasn't felt the pain of having to hit reset, right? Nick Saban got to ride off into retirement. In basketball, you know, things were bad, and then they hit on Nate Oates. This year, they had to replace Christy Curry after she left for the South Florida job. And I thought, this is just Demetri, the Alabama fan here talking, right? I thought, looking around what SEC women's basketball has been both competitively and financially to these schools, I thought Greg Byrne was going to take a swing. I thought he was going to go out and make a big hire and say, this is another financial lever that we can pull for the athletic department. He didn't do that. He went out and hired a former Christy Curry assistant. Maybe she's good. Maybe she's not. At the end of the day, she's cheap. That's what it comes down to, right? Yep. So when you think about that, they are saving money elsewhere because every penny they don't spend on pick your sport, women's basketball, baseball, track and field, that's another penny they can spend on football. Now you've got this big contract that means that Kalen DeBoer's not going anywhere for a while. Greg Byrne now has the playbook that plenty of other schools have done. Wisconsin has done this. Maryland has done this. If you are disappointed this year, we are not going to fire this guy. We are going to dedicate more resources to football. I think that is the message that is being sent here. If this doesn't work, we're changing our approach. We're not changing our guy.
To me, it's like, where do you go if you fire Kalen DeBoer? I mean, and it's not to be disrespectful or disingenuous, because certainly you could say there's been some moments where you're asking yourself, well, what the hell? This is not Alabama football. But let me also remind you guys, this is a coach that has beaten Kirby twice. This is a coach that helped get Brian Kelly fired. This is a coach that when he was at Washington, beat Steve Sarkisian twice. Like, he has done the due diligence of beating top 10 coaches in the past and is still doing that at an efficient rate. He went to the SEC championship game in year 2. And for friendly reminders, Chris just brought up, they finished first in the SEC regular season standings. What more do you want? Yeah. I mean, there's a certain level. And then look at a guy like Kirk Cignetti. Cignetti just won a national championship at Indiana and got paid handsomely. If he goes 4-8 the next 3 seasons, they're not going to care because they already won the Grand Scheme. So the pressure's not as built on up. Like, that's kind of where you are when it comes to, you don't want to get a Saban disciple. You don't know if you can afford another coach that's going to be at the same level as what you had with Kirk Cignetti if you want to go that pathway. There aren't names that are going to be replacements that are as qualified as a Kalen DeBoer. So it's like, why are we going to continue the shindig of, oh, is he going to be the guy? Is he going to be? No, just make it clear that this is the guy, because if he's done a lot of good things, he's been able to bring in a top-tier recruiting class. He's done a good job of being able to build his staff. He was able to retain Courtney Morgan from going back to Ann Arbor and become the GM there. So he's done a lot of good. Just let him build the image. And the part that's so infuriating with some Alabama fans that drives me up a wall, what if the last 2 seasons is rock bottom for Kalen DeBoer's Alabama? Losing a close game to an Oklahoma team, losing in Nashville, that's rock bottom. And you still got to 9-3 and 10-2. Okay, so then what's the pinnacle? Oh, we no longer have Nick Saban, but still the same song and dance of going undefeated, #1 scoring offense, Heisman Trophy player on our team, 6 All-Americans, 7 first-round picks, and a national title. Oh, it's just not Nick. Instead of wearing a collared shirt, he wears a black hoodie. Oh no! Oh boy, that's the narrative. Oh God, hell's broken loose out here because we don't do things this way. Like, that could be the world that we do live in, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think that you talk about retention, and I think when you say that word related to Kalen DeBoer, we have to talk about the recruiting going forward, right? Like, I think, is very smart to recognize college football is not the same sport it was, even in 2023 when he had that amazing Washington team. That now you kind of have to pick a lane. And if Alabama is never going to be throwing around LSU or Texas Tech or Ole Miss money in the portal, you got to give these guys a reason to stay. And part of giving these guys a reason to stay is now going to recruit that 3-star depth and letting those 4 and 5-star guys grow into earning their position of being on the field year in and year out. Yeah, it's frustrating because we got conditioned a certain way. But Cole, earlier you were talking about the wandering in the wilderness years between Saban and Stallings. Those were the years I was in school there. That's when I was in school, was from 99 to 03. And let me tell you, as a guy that lived through not 1, not 2, but 3 coaching changes during that time, I got really sick and tired of hearing about what Bear would have done.
Yep.
And I think it held this program back forever and ever and ever. And I mean, obviously not forever and ever. Eventually they hit on Saban. But do the people that are judging DeBoer based on what he's doing differently from Nick Saban think it is easy to catch lightning in a bottle a third time? I'm with you, man. Like, I think he is doing all he can to adapt with the sport, adapt with the time, and not let Alabama dip so far below what the standard is that I am back to hoping for an invite to the Liberty Bowl because I don't want to spend another Christmas at the casino in Shreveport. That is a true story.
Guys, on that note, let's turn our attention to what this 2026 Alabama football team is going to look like. We're going to start with the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to throw a lot at you, and we can kind of open it up and go from there as far as the conversation is concerned. As we all know, at the quarterback position, that's where most eyes are going to turn. Keelan Russell, Austin Mack will be battling for that QB1 job with a fierce competition throughout the spring. No starter has been named. We'll see how long Kalen DeBoer carries that into the preseason. Heck, maybe he takes it into the season. Most notably, no starters are back on the offensive line. You did add 5 transfers in. You're looking to shore up a run game that in 2025, Cole mentioned this earlier, 3.4 yards per carry. It was the 3rd worst mark for Alabama football since 1970. So getting the rushing attack back to the Alabama standard is a top priority. Ryan Coleman Williams, of course, he's looking for a bounce-back season after it felt like at times he couldn't catch a cold last year. Latsier Brooks and Rico Scott are at your other wide receiver spots. Caleb Edwards, Josh Ford, man in the tight end position. And then when it comes to the running game, Cole talked about E.J. Crowell. Obviously, a lot of hype and excitement around him, but you also return Daniel Hill, Kevin Riley, A.K. Deere. All these guys are looking to spearhead the rushing attack. So, Demetri, I'll start with you and Cole. We can kind of just have an open roundtable conversation. What you're expecting from the 2026 Alabama offense? Where does your mind go when we talk top storylines for this group?
Well, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I think all three of us believe that Keelan Russell is going to be the starter on this team. And look, when you hear comparisons to Jaden Daniels, that's A, pretty exciting, but B, feels pretty necessary given the offensive line situation. I think there is, as much as I need Ryan Coleman Williams to get his shit together, I do think there is a lot of talent in the pass catching group that I can't wait to see Russell throwing balls in games that actually matter.
The offensive line is going to be really intriguing to watch this year because of not only did they make a new hire at offensive line coach with Adrian Clem coming on over, former Goncho who worked at Oregon and then was with the New England Patriots. But a lot of people complained about the offensive line last season. A lot of people said how it is just a disaster. Everyone stinks. We need to go ahead and get some change. Okay, we got the change. Now it's uncertain, but hell, uncertain is kind of a good thing at times. So what is this offensive line going to look like? How do we see guys like Michael Carroll take another step forward on the offensive side? What do we see from the transfer portal additions? How many of these younger players are coming on in to be able to hopefully be able to build that rapport? Because let's be real, if they have a stable offensive line, they're going to have a shot in every single game to run the show. Like Alabama is an unknown in that position, but that doesn't make it a negative. Like so many times we treat uncertainties as just like a downfall. And I would rather flip the switch on that and say, no, being an unknown at a time like this is actually kind of a blessing in disguise because people are going to have to guess what the hell you're going to be this year, which makes you a threat.
I think watching other teams spend so wildly in the portal, particularly like when Jordan Seaton hit the portal, I think it frustrates Alabama fans. Like I know I made kind of a joke at Rayson Delgado's expense, who is the center that came over from Sacramento State. I don't have any reason to believe Delgado is not capable of doing the job. Ethan, Fields, the kid that came over from Ole Miss. It's a guy that lost his starting job last year. It doesn't mean that he is not capable of getting it back after an offseason of improvement and work. I think it is just seeing what now a generation of Alabama fans considers the number 2 rival in LSU spend to get whoever they wanted. It makes it feel like Alabama is scraping from the bottom of the barrel, even if to a man, if you gave these fans that are bitching and complaining truth serum, they couldn't tell you how good Rayson Delgado is or isn't.
Guys, they need Michael Carroll to step up and be that dude on the offensive line as well. He was a guy, obviously, thrust into action last year, 5-star signee. I think the thing that's tough for me is, my question is, what makes you or anyone believe that the offensive line is going to be better after they lose Caden Proctor and Parker Brailsford? But on the flip side, can they really be worse than they were last year?
Can it get any worse? I
don't know how much worse it can get. And the good news, again, you have a guy in Keelan Russell, the athleticism. I mean, it is just a stark contrast from what you had last year to this year. So I do think, not to dip too far in like predictions and stuff, but I do think there is still a lot of talent on this offense. And a lot of it, again, it comes back to, is it really going to be like, is Ryan Coleman Williams going to forget how to catch the football for a second year? There's just no way that happens, right? Like,
well, and the other thing too
is a bounce back year.
Yeah, the other thing too is like I think there were times last year where Lottie Brooks was probably the best receiver on the roster, but he was number 4 on the depth chart. You've taken away a couple of the guys that were sitting there in front of him, and now you have an opportunity for a speedster like that to get the ball in his hands more. And maybe, one of the things I really miss about the Tua years, about the Sark and Tua years, is it seems like Alabama has just gotten away from the quick slant and let the receiver go. Part of that might have been because, as much as I adore him, Bryce Young is a tiny, tiny little boy and couldn't do that kind of stuff. But I do think that between Keelan Russell being able to move the ball with his feet and Lottie Brooks' speed, you could see that come back and make a world of difference if the run game remains a problem.
But go a step further and talk about, it's not just Ryan Coleman Williams. By the way, we did not mention enough about what Jeremy Bernard was as a playmaker the last 2 years. Very much slept on in the grand scheme of things. But even Latsier Brooks, we can talk about him, but they have Sedarian Morgan, who has been killing it throughout camp.
Listen, I've been thinking about this since you talked about EJ Crowell. Crowell may not end up being the best true freshman on this offense. Like I'm really high on Morgan.
But like Rico Scott entered the portal and then he came back, and it's like, okay, so what if he ends up being something? Derek Meadows is still on this team. What if Noah Rogers, who was a very good wide receiver at NC State and the security blanket on the outside for CJ Bailey last year, ends up not missing more than just the first 2 games of the season, and he's back by the time you play against Georgia? Like, you don't just need a Ryan Coleman Williams, because if you have all these other pieces surrounding you. And then for me on the offensive line, here's the one thing I hope we're not saying by middle of the season. Hey, Ty Haywood looks really good, and he's competing alongside with Michael Carroll for right tackle. But we're saying it because of, oh, Michael Carroll looks like crap, and Ty Haywood is like not that far behind him. You want to hear, no, everyone is on the same page. Your depth is so well put together that, hell, if a guy's got to miss a start, no harm, no foul, we're going to be able to make it work without him for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, I think the offense, the big question for them, Keelan Russell, certainly quarterback, what's going to happen. But is the run game improved? Is there more a sign of physicality? Alabama is able to move the pile, if you will, obviously improve from that 3.4 yards per carry mark. They're going to have to do that to get the most out of the offense, and offense is still littered with talent. Guys, at the other side of the football and defense, the secondary feels like the very obvious strength of the defense with guys like Xavier Brown, Keon Sabb, and Bray Hubbard all back. It is a brand new defensive front. They've got 4 new pieces from the portal to help shore that up. And Yanze Pierre is back at the linebacker position, as is Kane Womack, defensive coordinator. Demetri, Cole, your expectations for the Alabama defense this upcoming season?
Yanze Pierre has to do in 2026 what Bray Hubbard did in 2025, which is prove that it's real. Prove that what we saw last season was the beginning of something. I was very skeptical of Hubbard as a day in, day out starter. And boy, he put those fears to bed almost instantly. It's been a long time. I can't tell you, maybe you can, Cole. I can't tell you how long it has been since Alabama had a pass rusher that the numbers say everybody should be afraid of.
Will Anderson Jr.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about, not only Will, but who was who was right after Will that went to the Vikings?
Oh, it was Dallas Turner.
Dallas Turner. Yeah, maybe not to Will Anderson level, but he was a guy that the defense could rely on to make a play in the backfield. Yanze Pierre has showed that he was capable of being that. So let's see you do it every single down. Let's see you do it when it's not a matter of coming in and we don't have enough tape on you to account for. Yanze Pierre has all my focus this season in terms of what the defense can be.
Middle linebacker, middle linebacker, middle linebacker, middle linebacker. Alabama, much like we talk about with their run game, has been known for producing middle linebackers. That is what they do best defensively, outside of literally everything else they do best defensively. And they got some dudes where they're changing the way that the game is going. You have to be fluid. You have to be able to play in coverage. The guy that I'm paying the most attention to is Caleb Woodson, the transfer from Virginia Tech. This is a safety that is turning into a middle linebacker. How quickly can he adapt to Kane Womack's defense that is going to ask him to play in coverage, that's going to ask him to be a delayed blitzer, that's going to ask him to have to play the run? Because if I know this secondary is going to be played, I truly believe Alabama's going to have the best secondary, not only in the SEC, but in college football this year.
Yeah.
And they may end up going 9-3, but they'll still have the best secondary. It doesn't really matter if you can shut down the passing attack and they're still running 4 to 5 yards a clip on you. That's really where we are. I don't mind losing guys like Kwarusa. I don't mind seeing a team like them lose a James Smith for depth purposes. Maybe they want to go ahead and get a fresh start elsewhere. But bottom line is that Alabama's got to be able to have that thumper up the middle to where the defensive front, if they're going to rush 3, if they're going to rush 4, whatever it is, they have somebody that is there to play the catch role of, okay, they get past the center. Okay, now we're getting pushed back for -2 yards. Okay, well, they get past center. We're now forced to be a 3rd and 9, and they're going to have to throw the football. You got to feel confident in that middle linebacker spot. And there were times last year that it felt like you didn't really get that from Hill Green. You definitely didn't get that from Deontay Lawson. Now, maybe it's because of injuries and whatnot, but still, it felt like that there was that missing spark in that middle of the middle of the defense. And that's so critical for a team like Alabama.
And I think emphasis on what you said, Cole, best secondary in college football. I would actually agree with you. I think it is the very best. You're going to see In this game, two big additions. Obviously, Oregon's Terrence Green, 6'5", 319. USC's Devin Tompkins, 6'5", 298. They were two headliners of the portal class. They are going to ask to be those big thumpers in the middle of that rushing attack defense, if you will. And then Caleb Woodson, I know we've been talking the linebackers, the Vatek transfer. He is going to be big for them in the middle of the defense. Because if they can stop the run, guys, with that secondary, this is going to be one of the best defenses in all of college football. As we move to – go ahead. You got something, Demetri?
Yeah, real quick. I just want to say one of the things that I think makes this the best secondary in college football is the versatility. Like, we are in an age where everybody is playing nickel as a base package now.
Yep.
And Bama's nickel, Red Morgan is one of those dudes that he's never going to get the headlines because he is not in the same class in terms of coverage as, a Dijon Lee or a Zabian Brown. But he just does everything asked of him at an elite level. I think that ability to even be reliable when a running back breaks through the second level is part of what makes this secondary so good.
I just want to say that when you look at a team like Alabama, in a day and age where NIL is so poignant and you can just pay for whoever the hell you want to get them off of a roster, you look at Alabama and you say to yourself, oh, he's backing him up.
Right.
He'd be starting on like 100 other teams in college football and he's sticking around. That's what makes Alabama different. Like, you don't see that anymore in college football. And Alabama's got that every single spot in their secondary.
Guys, we are going to talk special teams, not just for Bama, but every single team we preview heading into the season. But I know for you guys both being Crimson Tide alum, talking special teams really just tickles your fancy, if you will. Connor Talty is back at kicker for Alabama. Marshall transfer Lorcan Quinn is pushing him in a competition. Alex Asparov and Adam Watform battle for the punting duties. Looks like Ryan Coleman Williams, Latsier Brooks, manning kicking return, punting return. I'll ask you guys, anything notable when it comes to Alabama special teams? I feel like if it's not a storyline, it is a positive because over the years, it feels like the only reasons we've been talking about Alabama specialists is because they fucked something up.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that stands out to me is the fact that Lorcan Quinn has not taken over the kicking position. Must mean that DeBoer really does believe Connor Talty is the best kicker for this team. I mean, they could have gone out and gotten a more surefire guy if they really didn't believe in Talty.
Talty last season had a 69.6 field goal percentage rate. Lorcan Quinn had an 80.8% field goal rate. I don't know if I do basic math. That's why I talk about sports for a living. One is a lot higher than the other, and pray to God that if Connor Talty is going to be your dude, he's able to make a kick with the inside the 20. Because then Alabama would have been 11-1, and nobody would have bitched that they were in the playoff because they would have beaten Oklahoma.
Yeah, Lorcan Quinn also an Irishman, continuing the long tradition of European Alabama kickers.
16 for 23 to Cole's point was Connor Talty's mark a season ago. 4 for 6 from 20 to 29, 5 for 6 from 30 to 39, 7 for 10, 40 to 49, 0 for 1 on 50 plus. So he will look to improve on that mark. I'll be curious to see too if Alabama can make something happen in the return game specifically with the athletes they have that'll be touching the football. I mean, as many times as you can get Coleman Williams, your Brooks, the football. It's
you talked about Williams and Brooks out front. I mean, that leaves Rico Scott, that leaves Dijon Lee, that leaves Zabian. I mean, all these guys got their shot at times last year. I think that anytime you can get the ball in Coleman Williams' hands, you will take it. That is a carryover from the Saban era. Why would you not put your best athletes on the field at every phase of the game? But I think, you're right, Chris. I think there are a lot of bites at the apple to hit home runs in the return game for this team.
Guys, as we put a pin in it here, talking the Alabama Crimson Tide hanging in the 2026 season, our friends over at KALSHI do have percentage chances and numbers for Alabama. KALSHI gives Alabama an 80% chance to win 8 or more games this season, 51% chance to win 9 or more, and 34% to win 10 or more. Interestingly enough, they give them a 42% chance to win 11 or more, 10% chance to win 12 or more games. So it kind of feels like right at that 9-win mark is where you kind of see the numbers start to break. Do you think Bama reaches double-digit wins this season? Interestingly enough, to qualify for the college football playoff. So will Bama make the playoff, yes or no? Alabama with a 42% chance to make the playoff. That ranks good enough for first, second, third, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th out of all teams in college football on KALSHI. So 42%
I
chance.
thought you were counting down SEC only teams.
No. So this is everybody. That is everybody. So 10th best percentage chances to make the playoff out of everybody in college football. KALSHI gives Alabama a 3% chance to win the national championship this season. So those are the numbers. 5 starters return, 1 on offense, 4 on defense. Guys, I want to talk about the schedule really quickly and how this shapes up in year 3 of Kalen DeBoer. You open up in non-conference play with the East Carolina Pirates. Then you open SEC play at Kentucky. You get Florida State at home in what's obviously being deemed a revenge game after what happened last year. You close out September with South Carolina. You're at Mississippi State to get October going. October 10th, you have the big showdown against Georgia as they come to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Third Saturday in October is the next week at Tennessee. You then get Texas A&M at home. You're at LSU to get November going, at Vanderbilt, Chattanooga, and then Auburn, of course, in the Iron Bowl to close out the season. Guys, I'll open it up to you both. How do you feel like this schedule sets up for Alabama to meet, maybe even exceed expectations this season?
It's going to be all about those middle 3 games, right? It's going to be all about what they do in that Georgia at Tennessee, Texas A&M stretch, because I don't think Tennessee is better than Alabama, but I think the timing of that game is one of those where Tennessee could jump up and get them. And I think that stretch is going to be the difference between, are they a double-digit win team or are they a 4-loss team? I tend to think they trend closer to double-digit wins than 4 losses.
See, if you told me 9-3 was what we can expect of them this year, it wouldn't shock me. I think that they are going to drop a game that they probably shouldn't, and they're going to win a game that they probably shouldn't. Now, maybe that's Georgia. Maybe that's playing against LSU. Maybe A&M is better than advertised, and the one loss that A&M has is against Alabama. But they're going to drop a game, and it's just because of young quarterback play, a new offensive line. It's a bunch of uncertainty. I think Demetri's right, though. Third Saturday in October carries so much weight for a double-digit win season. And for a guy like Josh Heupel, the thing that we can say that no other Tennessee coach could say during the Nick Saban regime, he beat Nick Saban. Yep. And then in his first year, he beat Kalen DeBoer. Like, he's done that. And the games happened at Rocky Top. Alabama was 0-2 the last 2 times they played at Rocky Top. So it's a big-time deal. They're a team that I think if they can figure out what their offensive identity is going to be by the time they get to Georgia, 10-2 should be on the table. But if you're still asking yourself, hey, can we run the football efficiently? Hey, do we have a wide receiver number 2 that can pair alongside with so-and-so? You're looking at close to, I think, 8-4, which is really souring to say, especially for a guy that just got a contract extension.
Guys, I'll lock in predictions the next few weeks. I'm going to spare that here. But, I mean, I love Bama's schedule from the standpoint of I think it gives you an opportunity to really build some early momentum. And I'm not making light of, what facing Will Stein in Lexington could be, the challenge that could be with a Keelan Russell, young quarterback on the road, or the South Carolina game, which has proven to be even more than a trap game. It's just a difficult game for Alabama the last couple of years. But, I mean, ECU, Kentucky, Florida State, South Carolina, at Mississippi State. Bama is more talented than all 5 of those teams. You could argue significantly in some of, if not most of those matchups. So it should, in my opinion, give them a great opportunity to build some momentum, build some confidence, get Keelan Russell in that offense all acclimated, get everything kind of clicking on all cylinders. And I think Demetri's right, obviously. I mean, that 3-game stretch, Georgia at Tennessee, A&M, hell, throw 4-game stretch at LSU the following week, although I feel like Alabama's probably going to be, no matter who the coach is, pretty confident going down to Death Valley. I think it gives them an opportunity to build the momentum into that stretch. And, that 4-game stretch, because you close out at Vandy, Chattanooga, Auburn. I mean, if you win the ones you feel like you're supposed to win, Georgia's a toss-up. You got to throw Tennessee on Rocky Top in that category because of the atmosphere, because of, like you mentioned, the game it comes after. A&M, a lot of it going to be dependent on what they are. The game is in Tuscaloosa, and then, at LSU as well. And I mean, those are, heck, that 3-run stretch at Tennessee, A&M, LSU. What are those teams? That's going to, I think, dictate a lot of how tough this schedule is and, how difficult it looks. If all three of those teams, if Tennessee overachieves, A&M's a playoff team and LSU's a playoff team, well, all of a sudden, I mean, Alabama's schedule just got significantly more difficult. But I think it is a schedule that is certainly nowhere near easy, but I think it sets up well in regards to a schedule conducive to Alabama getting back to double-digit wins and into the playoff. And again, I think it's because of that early season where those first couple weeks, you're going to be able to get your feet under you, build some confidence, really get it rolling going into that Georgia game where you can put your best foot forward.
Yeah, I feel of that 4-game stretch, I feel real confidence about the ends. It's the 2 in the middle I'm not sure about. I don't see Alabama beating Georgia. And I don't see LSU beating Alabama. I mean, I think there is enough of a history that says Lane Kiffin gets a pretty tight butthole when he's staring across at those crimson helmets. The
good news is, at least Gus Malzahn can't hurt you this year. So we're all okay with that.
If there's anybody that Bama owes an ass kicking to on the schedule, it is the Florida State Seminoles.
Yeah.
Guys, again, as we wrap it up here, what do we make of Alabama? Of course, like we mentioned and we've talked already, I don't think putting Kalen DeBoer's name in the hot seat conversations is really right or even fair after the extension he was given. But this is Alabama. It doesn't matter about the coach. There's always a high level of competitive pressure. Nobody knows that more than you guys. It is college football playoff or bust, and I'd argue it's not just getting to the college football playoff. It's win a few games in doing so. It's maybe giving a run at a national title a real scare versus just being happy you got invited to the party, although this is a new era of college football, and that feels like we've kind of gotten to a point where that's deemed success or failure. Did you make the playoff? Did you not? Yes or no? I think a lot of what's really important this season, too, guys, is how it looks. I mean, hey, tell me you went 10-2, you went 11-1, whatever. But if you have not fixed these root issues that have been following you, I think Bama needs to do these couple things this season. Number one, don't lose a game you blatantly were not supposed to lose. Don't have a repeat of what happened against Florida State last year. Don't have even an Oklahoma team who was a really good team last year. You feel like you outplayed and you let that one slip through your fingers. But also, too, are you the aggressor? Are you the more physical football team more often than not? Do you play to the final whistle with great intensity and energy and passion? And I know this sounds like coach speak, but even if you're getting beat, do you play the right way to where I think the Alabama fan base can be at least proud of the effort that's being put forward? Also, are you a well-disciplined football team? There's a guy in Gainesville, he was there, but he's no longer there because his teams couldn't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
You can't be the most penalized team or one of the most penalized in college football. It just, that kind of shit can't happen at Alabama. So, there are things that they have to get corrected and get fixed that I could argue, yeah, sure, you want to win more games and you want to win the national title, but there are things that take no talent that Alabama has got to get fixed this season. It's being a smarter football team, being more of a, being able to impose their will, if you will, improve physicality, improved effort at times, if you will. So how it looks to me is almost just as important as how many games you win.
I think you also have to have some real hits with not just true freshmen, but new starters, right? Because if we really are entering an era where recruiting is going to look different because it is more about retaining the top tier guys, those top tier guys better not miss. So whether it is Crowell, whether it is Morgan, whether it is Xavier Griffin, right? Xavier Griffin. Those guys better be, and of course, Keelan Russell. Those guys better be everything that we have been hoping they were going to be.
I agree, Chris. It comes down to how you look. I mean, you can go 9-3 and say it came off of LSU being a national title contender and Georgia being a national title contender and A&M being a title contender. And maybe because of now with this new playoff and how we're going about the future, a 9-3 team can sneak its way on it. I don't know, but you have to look like the Alabama of old. That is just a non-negotiable. I think Kalen DeBoer is a phenomenal coach. I think that he is currently the second best coach in the SEC. At worst, he's the third best coach in the SEC. He has proven that he can win at the highest level and hold his own against the best names in the sport. But how it looks and how it all comes together is so detrimental to you, because the last thing that you want to see going into your third year is beating the brakes off of Lane Kiffin, finding a way to smack the crap out of Kirby Smart, and then here comes Shane Beamer going on a hot seat and you losing by double digits.
Yeah.
You can't afford that. And you can't afford to look like the less intimidating team.
It is, guys, is there a world? Number one, I will ask you both, what will satisfy the appetite of this Alabama fan base this year outside of the obvious, which is winning a national title? Is it playoff appearance and win a game? Is it win 2 games? Is it make the Natty? And then also, is there a world even after the extension and what have you that if they slip to say 7-5, do we fire up conversations again of real momentum for there to be a change?
I don't think the okay, maybe in Greg Burns' mind, right? The contract extension takes the hot seat conversation away. I think there are enough people at Alabama that would be motivated to say, oh, Auburn was crazy to pay Gus $21 million to go away. Well, just wait till you see what we do if they really do slip to 7-5. I don't think that's realistic. Yeah, Chris, I mean, it's as simple as what you just said. Make the playoff, win a game with a bowl title as opposed to just, the home or road game that you open up in. It's like the World Cup, right? Like, it's great the U.S. won the game in the round of 32. Round of 32 used to not exist. So talk to me after they win in the round of 16. I think that's the way Alabama fans view this season. Talk to me after you win the one with a special name.
I go a step further and say, you got to go to the national title. Because you and I both know this as well as anybody out there. There were people that would call into Paul after an 11-1 season and say, Nick's lost his fastball. We're not talking with the normal functioning breed here. This is a society that can't handle the fact you beat Kirby Smart in the regular season and lose to Brent Venables. And Brent Venables is not a bad coach, but it's this is the type of society that we live in. So for Alabama, the standard is always going to be, we are playing in a national title, damn it. We are Ala-freaking-Bama. But the reality is, I think for most fans, what Demetri said is true. Win the Rose Bowl, win the Fiesta Bowl, make it to the Final Four, and we can have a conversation about what you are.
There you have it. 2026 Alabama Crimson Tide football preview in the books. The countdown to kickoff continues. Very excited to see what the Crimson Tide look like in year 3 of Kalen DeBoer. Guys, we're going to wrap it up here. I know we've been going for over 2 hours, so I appreciate your patience, your love, your support. Guys, really quickly before we do, shout out to our friends and want to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. If you need your tickets this college football season, download the Game Time app. Use promo code SECU. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. I use them for everything I go to. They're going to tell you exactly where you're sitting, what you're getting, how much you're paying. You do it all one click of a button on your phone. No hidden fees as well. It's no nonsense. All right there for you. And again, let us save you some money in the process. Again, that's our friends at Game Time. Promo code SECU, $20 off your first purchase. Guys, anything else that we maybe did not get to? I want to shout out my friend Chinook Cedary, who followed us over from baseball and is now in for the football chatter. Appreciate you. Big LSU fan, by the way, for those of you that don't know. Anything else before we close it out here? I promise, by the way, not every show will go 2 hours. Today, obviously, I kind of figured with the beginning of the show, our welcoming of Demetri would probably go about 20 or 30 minutes longer than planned. And I don't know. It kind of exemplifies how excited I am, though, to talk college football. I feel like I could sit here and talk ball with y'all all day. But I promise not every show will be 2 hours. I promise.
I say we go another 90 minutes. Take it right up to kickoff.
Oh, dear God. I got things to do. I got a car waiting for me to go to the game.
No, I've got 2 teenagers downstairs wondering why they haven't been fed yet. I'm right there. I'm right there with you.
I love it. Well, guys, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much, Demetri and Cole, for what you do and being part of this, and really excited to embark on this journey that is the 2026 season and beyond with you both. Again, guys, we'll be back Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. Central will be the plan, unless we change our minds, and then you'll just have to roll with the punches and deal with it. So either way, guys, we really appreciate you all tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, all across your favorite social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Make sure you follow Cole and Demetri and myself on social media, and stay tuned to all of our content bleeding out of the eyeballs. So for Demetri Ravanos and Cole Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. This is Chewing Clock. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you all on Wednesday. Cheers.